Hi, welcome to Nollywood Film Club. I am Mr. C of Roco Critic. Yeah, it's a long one today, so I'll try not to waste your time. But yes, this is another fun conversation. The pushback does get spirited. Most people are on one side, but there was enough pushback for it to get entertaining. I will say, um, I, at Nollywood Film Club, we try to go after the work. Sometimes it gets tricky for some people differentiating between the work and the filmmaker. I thought one of the criticisms that was said on did creep into attacking the filmmaker, and I did push back. I did want to say that up top, just to say it's not how we usually do things. And obviously, I did push back, just worth pointing out. All right, that out of the way. It is a long one, so I don't want to waste too much of your times. Do check out the prediction sections or the previous Anikulapo conversation. Those are companion pieces. Yes, giving you more homework, but what can I say? These enjoyable conversations. Just remember, it's all art, and I hope you enjoy Nollywood Film Club discussing Anikulapo, Rise of the Spectre. So, welcome to Nollywood Film Club. We did discuss Nollywood movies or series every Sunday. Sometimes we have Nollywood conversations. Today we'll be discussing Anikulapo, Rise of the Spectre, the follow-up to the quote-unquote critically acclaimed, not by me, Anikulapo from 20. Was that 2021 or 2022?
2022.
Okay, all right. So, 2022. We're in 2024. I forget. We will discuss what we liked in the good, what we don't like in the bad, and we'll disagree if we have pushback, and we'll do a summary. But before we even get there, we had a predictions. We had a predictions part, and I'm not even going to embarrass anyone and all of the people who took part. By saying I clearly won that one.
Why are you lying? Why are you
Clearly
lying?
won that one. I destroyed.
Why are you lying? Why are you lying?
I don't. I'm trying to think. Was there the only plot point that I did not notice was the thing of Arolake having money. I think having this unlimited money, right, and maybe going sort of going back, but
you have to admit you stole all my predictions.
I didn't steal all of them. I stole the ones I took the ones I thought made sense,
and they all made sense.
No, they did not all make sense.
Yeah,
Jagu crossover.
Didn't it happen?
Yeah, because they said words.
I do have to say she was right about like incestuous things happening. He slept with the mother and he slept with the daughter, so
that's not incestuous.
That's not. Yeah,
it's pretty close to incestuous in my head. It's not literally incestuous, but it's incestuous adjacent.
It's Gossip Girl.
It's incestuous adjacent.
Gossip Girl.
Incestuous adjacent. You cannot be sleeping with the mother and the daughter. You cannot be sleeping with the father and the son. You just cannot do that. That's just terrible.
Why they live in different villages?
I actually called the Aralake was going to be the person who was sort of covered. I called Saro being on borrowed time. I absolutely crushed. Go listen to
I also called that. What are you saying?
You did not call that.
I did.
You did not call it. They can go and listen to it.
Man, also everybody that says spirit world, and I told you people was heaven, and literally as we entered into the show, they were like, "Oh, gates of heaven." I said, "That's right. I was correct."
Yeah, it wasn't heaven. It was the gate towards heaven. It's like the river Styx. It's not heaven. It's the underworld. Okay, no, it's like the rivers to the Styx. Nah, it wasn't heaven. We never saw heaven.
Aisha was right. Nobody said
you were not right because you specifically said heaven. You said heaven, but we never went to heaven. It was the underworld. It was the underworld.
All right, we're gonna start with me meeting icons, which is tradition, obviously. But yes, sure, it wasn't technically heaven, but even Vanessa, you were not the only one who said. I think I said albino Jesus. the Bailey gaze. I think I mentioned that to like as well. So again, no plot point that wasn't mentioned that
I just have to say my prediction that it was going to be a waste of my time. On point.
All right. All right. Okay. Anyway, so but people can go listen to the prediction parts if you want. Let's get into the things that we did like. We'll start with first time for a while. Vanessa, what did you like about this?
What did I like about it? Costumes were beautiful. A lot of how they looked made sense. I loved, actually, no, scratch that. I loved the hair in this. I really liked the hair in this. The scene where someone was weaving cowries into Basharun's hair. I just really loved seeing that. I liked Arolake's half undone hair after she's been traveling. Um, I love that. Was the Saro's new wife? Actually, I love the hair in this. And then the costumes as well. Very pleased for Kunle Afolayan with his film village because the locations were looking really good. Oh, the man who plays Bashorun, Herbert Ogunde's descendants. Yeah, I liked him. It might be arguable, but I really liked his portrayal of a villain. And I wish more, this is going into the bar, but I wish more was allowed for that villain to flourish. I loved how he portrayed this villain. There was always this very little smile on his face as he says the things that he says. And I just really appreciate that he wasn't a put into perspective Femi Adebayo type villain that's snarling and over the top. He seemed a bit more like a tactical villain who understood power play and the political nature of the town that he belonged in. And he was just really ambitious and wanted more. He was a warlord, but still a warlord with like political know-how. I just really enjoyed his portrayal of this character. And the thing about him being a first-time actor, if this is his first time, please Nollywood, don't spoil this man. Don't spoil this man. Let this man grow in his potential and if he wants to continue acting, I actually see it for him. Also, he's a beautiful man. So me, man. I think that man is a fine man. Um, what else? Oh, it was nice to see Lai again. I appreciate that Lai isn't going the route that a lot of Nigerian skit in quotes skit makers and comedians have gone, where they end up playing extensions of themselves in films. I think this is the second time I've seen Lai. I'm sure he's in more things. Oh no, the third thing is in the one on YouTube, but that feels more like what he does. But like film, I think this is the second time, and the first time was seeing him in Adire. And granted, he was kind of a bit of like comic relief, but he still played it like an actor. And in this as well, I enjoyed seeing him follow Saro around. Um, so big ups Lai. What else did I really like? This is rough, man. It took me, I won't lie, guys, it took me ODD 12 hours. And this is me being generous. It took me more than 12 hours because I started the day going to work and downloading a couple episodes to watch on the train. And honestly, it took me forever to watch this thing. What again did I like? Music. Oh, there it is. The soundtrack. The girl who's been that sang the entirety of the thing. I quite enjoy. I preferred the music in this to the one in the first one. So, yeah, I think that's all. I tried.
All right. Correct. Thanks, Vanessa. If you do want to share the things you liked, you can comment underneath the space or use the hashtag Nollywood Film Club. All right. Inkan, do you want to tell us what you liked about the series?
Sure. What I liked about the series, I like the grand spectrum of like, how am I going to say this? Like, the historical drama about I like how they serve. I don't think they got old Oyo right, because this is Oyo and people are just walking in anyhow. And it's much bigger than that. But I think as like a show of on screen of like our historical past, I think this is doing a good start. A very good start, like there's more money, there's more production value into it. And it looks wonderful and it looks beautiful. I do think that, okay, and it's clear that they did some research and they tried to get it. And I really like that part of it. I also like the fact that they call out to Mali and like they were talking about it there, even though there's a lot of things. But it's wonderful. And I don't think they were going for real historical accuracy and all that stuff. They were never going for that. So I'm not using that to judge them. But I just like the aesthetics of how they presented the past. I think that we can move on from this to do better. So that's one thing I liked. I do think the guy who acted Bashar was a good villain. And I do think that he really did do the political access. See, the Bashar is a prime minister, right? And indeed, prime ministers and kings tend to have political rivalry. And I thought he really played it well. It wasn't a snare villain. I like the costumes, although sometimes some of the costumes did seem a little bit modern, but again, it's not going for more accuracy. So it was just all beautiful. I can't, okay. The story, I kind of get, I like the end. I like the end because in the end, it kind of all sort of tied in. The Bashorun had this plot to get power by thinking that he can use he could use the power of to rise the dead. But the thing is that had already gotten lost, and his plan is working based on what he knows. And I think that's good writing in a way. Like your plan, it's based on what the characters knows, and it's not like he magically knows things that doesn't make any sense. That we know that he knows this is the information that he has, so he makes a plan, a pretty smart plan. But too bad they don't have the power to raise up the dead anymore. And I think at the end it kind of works. You have to go through a lot to get to the end where it all kind of works together. The Basharu storyline. I think some of the female characters do have more complexity in them. There's one that I don't think has any. I don't like that, but that's not it. I would say I kind of liked how they tried to get into the political drama. But there was some of it there. There was some of it there with the Bashono. I feel like they should have focused on it a little bit more. And I feel like they should have written the Kings something a little bit more, especially if you're going to do King of Thrones. I mean, Game of Thrones. I'm going to say this. I have not really watched Games of Thrones. But from what I heard, it is more about like just how political processes happens, that is not just focused on the courtly situation and things outside of the courtly situation. In the beginning, towards the end, it started becoming like regular something. That's what I heard. And if indeed that's what Game of Thrones is kind of like that, in kind of that aspect, they kind of sometimes get to it, but not really completely. I think it's a type of drama that if you are into watching different parts of storylines coming together and you're okay to do the slow and steady, it comes together in the end, in the last episode, 60%. And the actor that acts it pretty well. And you kind of get some sort of closure, some sort that it won't be too bad into something. So I definitely think there was a lot of work that went into this. I definitely appreciate the aesthetical works of it because historical dramas are really, really hard to do. And a lot of it takes the aesthetics. And I think they worked very hard, very, very well on the aesthetics. And I think they did work a little bit more on on the story and on the writing, but not too much. It's not useless. And it's actually, you just need patience. And if you have the patience, it is okay. There was some good acting, a lot of good acting. The Yoruba, yes, the Yoruba is wonderful. Compare this Yoruba to the Yoruba spoken in Orisha. It is much better. So there.
Okay. All right.
It's believable. Don't you dare pause me because I'm about to.
Okay. All right. Muted. I'm sorry.
Why did you do that? I was ending. Literally, there was no need for you to do that.
You ignored the hand for way too long. The hand
You are so like. There's no need for you to do that.
They all right. We do have to move on though. There's a timer, guys, and please respect the hand. The next question I think we have is Atas. Atas, please go on.
Hello. Caveat. I am just about rounding up episode 5. About 5 minutes left. So all my goods and bads is primarily coming from there. Although I'm sure by the time we get to the bads, I will have finished. And with what you come saying is going to be questions will be answered 60%. It's not encouraging me because if I scored 60% in an exam, I would have to do it over. Anyways, the good, I really loved the set and the world building. I thought I think that there's a lot of attention to detail in the costuming, hair, makeup, and even the set. I enjoyed spotting random attention to details in movies generally, even the ones I don't like. But something that was fun for me was like the palm wine tapper's daughter. Her armpits were unshaving, and there was sort of a consistency there with not having women with like freshly waxed bodies and arched eyebrows. So that was generally enjoyable. Other thing here for me that I loved in the set, and that a lot of Nollywood movies tend to get wrong when they're in this old-timey styled sets, is the display of wealth and royalty. I was really glad that there wasn't any purple fur or like costumey gold thrones. They looked very proppy. And I liked the detail in the thrones here. The Basharan's mud throne with the sort of carved in details, and even the king's throne itself, the wood one, is very intricate. Pillars that were in the palace, the black pillars, love them. Very intricate. Sorry, I'm from Edo State, so sculpture and mask, all of that was very fun for me to see. I thought it was funny sort of having the old-timey realtor working about showing different mud hut options. It's neither here nor there. It was just very interesting to just have like kind of picture looking for a house and having to deal with a realtor taking you to see nonsense in the past. Kunle Remy, always very handsome. First episode when he was toasting that babe, I was also blushing. And if he wants to come and steal my father's palm wine's business, I will help him. Episode 3 so far is my favorite episode. I think Bimbo's episode and story is the most compelling out of everything they're trying to tell. Okay, this is the bad, but I had more interest in Bimbo's story, and I was more interested in seeing that resolved than I still am, and I'm hoping it resolves soon. I enjoyed some of the attention in the underworld, like the three-breasted woman. It was funny. You can see that they put effort into actually creating a spooky vibe and spooky scene. It was mildly terrifying, even when you could kind of see where the costume started. Uh, Something that was really funny for me, and my last thing, is when those women are presented in front of the king, where he's looking for a Rolake, and he's like, all of these women are ugly. But then the woman with the big butt is leaving, and he's like, hand of God. I related to that, felt that. But yeah, that's it.
Yeah, I liked that scene too. That was a fun scene. All right. Rotimi, you are next. What did you like about
Anikulapo? Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. For me, the what I liked most was actually Gabriel Afolayan. There's a particular scene when Bimbo's character gets back for her meeting with the king, and Akin's as Gabriel's character kind of like, you understand, like loses it with her. That for me was like that was the performance of the entire like show, of the whole show. That when I saw that, I was like, okay, I've been waiting this whole show for someone to give me a performance that I'll remember, and that was like the most memorable performance for me. Cinematography was also not bad, especially specifically the ones that all the shots that were taken at night, all the shots taken at night were actually very, very good in terms of the cinematography, the lighting, all that looked very good. There's a specific shot I like when Clay Remy's character was with the Panwai's daughter by the river. There's a particular shot that was framed towards the side. That was like they had a couple of drone shots, they had a couple of close-ups, but there's a one shot they have where they framed it towards the side. That shot was beautiful. The overall production design, costume design, art design, you understand, all that worked. Those are like carryovers from the very first time from the movie. But in terms of like they were actually like they had like drone shots where you could see the whole should I say the design of the buildings, and you could see the layouts of some of the all the palaces or part of the layouts of the towns, and that was actually also very nice again. Definitely Basharon's character was a nice introduction. I liked him. He was one of like it's almost like definitely you want more of him. Like I'm now because like at the end, like I don't know if I'm a spoiler territory, but like when they killed him, I was not like okay who, because I thought that when you said the rise of the Spectre, I was looking at okay maybe he's the one that is going to be the person that okay he's the Spectre that is rising, then he dies, and I'm like okay who is the Spectre that's going to rise, unless maybe he's going to come back from the underworld too. So I'm sorry, the afterlife too. What else again? I like okay some kind of, I'm sure for anybody that is lovers of Yoruba culture and using your Yoruba drama, they will enjoy this. I've seen a lot of people enjoy it. It's going to be fun for anybody that's like loves watching anything that has to do with like has Yoruba culture, Yoruba films. It was also fun to see that Saro came back from the afterlife, and he has not changed his ways. Saro will be Saro till he dies. Even he comes back to life, he still comes back, finds a new power, starts toasting, finds another girl to put his affection on, and continues in his ways. That was fun. Then it was good to like see at the end the legacy of Saro, the mother, the daughter, his lover, and his child all sat together. I'm like, oh, this is the legacy of Saro at the end. Okay, very nice. I think the person that had the most complete arc was Arulanke, and I think that that's probably the thing because from our relationship with the king to her relationship with Saro, then her relationship with Akin. And I like it was kind of fun to see how when Akin asked her about what was the source of her power, then she remembered when she gave Saro the power of raising the dead, and she was not like, okay, I'm not going to repeat my mistake. So it showed that she had grown as a character and everything. So that was nice to see. So yeah, those are my likes. Thank you.
All right. No, thank you. Just going to read some of the comments that have come through about what some people have liked. Rinta says, what I liked, the set pieces, the costumes, Laterera's actress, I guess the actress who played Laterera, I guess. Gabriel's performance and Ogunde's performance. My tongue technology says what I liked, Bashar, the scene where Akin and Aralake fought, set pieces and costumes. The king's daughter is so pretty. That's Kunle Afolayan's daughter in real life, which I'm not going into that. All right. And HNS says he remembers that he predicted more molded FX breasts, which I guess we kind of got the three-breasted woman, yeah. Woman in the spirit world. So, yeah. Who is next on the list? Let me see this.
Oh, just as a fun fact, when I was a kid, my older brother used to scare me with stories of a three-breasted woman, so that was fun for me.
But why was 3 breasts scary? Like, I need more context.
I don't know. I had no idea, but apparently she was chasing me and I had to run.
More breast to marry. All right. Nollywood must change. Please tell us what you liked about Anikulapo.
Hi everyone. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. What do I like about Anikulapo the series? I think I like that Nollywood is helping Netflix to waste money, and I kind of like that's okay for me. Most of the performances they are okay. I think they're not bad. Most, not all of them are kind of okay, but most of them are not bad. I like Shola. Shola only, I think she shouted just one scene when she was arguing with Basharon, and I kind of felt like, oh, that was necessary because if someone would threaten your daughter, you would have to fight back. Like, no, you can't hurt my daughter. So I kind of like Lai and the other guys who were ghosts. They didn't do over the top comics, because I've known them, like the late Sisi Quadri is always, doing comedy, comics, kind of thing, but they didn't use them like that actually, and I kind of appreciate that. That was okay for me. Chola shouted, okay, I told about Chola, yeah, the veterans, they did their thing. Taiwo Hassan and the chiefs, they were okay. Kind of like that. Basharun is good looking. I think because he's good looking, that's why most people are saying, oh, they like Basharun, they like the character, they like performance. If it was someone else, they would hate that performance and that characterization actually. But I'll get to that in my dislikes. So I think because it was good looking, it could just, be given a pass. Actually, the use of extras, I kind of like the use of extras in these because everywhere felt like a market when you wanted to be a market. The place where they were frying Gary, it looked like that. Everywhere was kind of like a town, and I think most of the time I would rather see random people walking past because in those days there were no fences, so you would see people walk past the front of your front yard kind of thing. So it felt real, and I kind of like the way he used them. So Saro's Ashewo consistency, I kind of like that it didn't come back to be someone something else, but he went back to his old ways. Even though I think it was only the lady we got to see with him actually, but it was kind of okay that they continued with that characterization of him liking beautiful women. And what else do I like? I think that's the only thing I like. Those are the only things I like. Yeah, that's all for me.
All right. Thanks, Nollywood Must Change. Pearl, do you want to tell us some of the things you liked?
Yeah, hi. I think most of the things I like have been said, but the one thing I liked the most, I think, was how the movie went straight in the first episode into establishing like the conflict, and I thought that that would be sort of the conflict for the entire movie or the journey for the entire movie, which was, as I've seen people say on Twitter, which is really funny, that they asked Saro to hit Control Z. So I was actually interested in that journey. I liked it. I liked how, let me just say, I liked the beginning. I like how the movie started and that journey that was sketched, whether or not it followed through is a different matter entirely. And then I liked Arolake's story as well, up to a point, but for at least the beginning again of her story, up to a point, I enjoyed that as well. I liked the world. I liked the world building. I liked the cultural immersion. I loved the music. So just like I said, most of the things, that people have already said.
I enjoyed, and I liked. I think Kunle Remy was quite amazing in this. He did a lot of subtle, like face acting and all of that. His expressions were really good and very subtle in many instances. I liked that when Shola Shobowale showed herself in the character that we know her for, in the kind of acting that we know her for, it was very apt for the scene and what was happening. And I was actually screaming with her because I felt everything she felt in that scene, how she had been trying to manage the ego and balance things with this egotistical man. But then, and she also for a moment thought, I thought she was going to betray her daughter. But once she made the decision to protect her child, it was just the way mothers are described as lionesses or tigresses for when it comes to their children. I loved how that just really, really, really came through. There were some good episodic cliffhangers, especially episode 5. That's the one where the king's daughter screamed, and then it was picked up in the next episode. I think even I was like, well, I think in a way, I guessed, but not exactly what. But that scream was it was just such a cliff. If it was like a weekly episode drop kind of thing, it would have been much more impactful. And that's a whole subject entirely. How Netflix style of dropping multiple episodes, how that changes the meaning of a cliffhanger when you know that pretty much, or the meaning or the need for a cliffhanger when you know that pretty much you just you're going to watch it the very next second, so it doesn't really matter. But I thought it was noteworthy. And yes, I enjoyed the magical creatures in that spirit world. I liked that little montage, so to speak. It was so reminiscent of stories that we heard in childhood. I just liked that whole story of wealth coming from these creatures who usually there would be some kind of explanation or reason, like, oh, human, what is this evil that was done to you? Let us help you. Okay, Mr. C, I see you. Yes, okay. That was pretty much the things that I liked. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Pearl. Sounded a little weak there, but I hope I know you're not at your strongest. Hope you feel better. I think the person left is Jamu. Jamie, are you there? If you're there,
yeah, I'm here.
All right.
Yeah, I kind of like it's a good experience. It was a good scene for me. Anikulapo, I kind of like the introductions of the three spirits. I always look forward to when next are they going to appear, and what conversation are they going to have, and all that. So it actually made me, glued to the TV. Then and times of shots, I think Kunle knows his onions very well, especially the night scenes. They're so beautiful, the movements and all, and most especially when the Omomi actually screamed. That shot of the movement and all that, the pandemonium and all. I really loved those shots, and also I think there's a good thing now. I would like to see Owabo Ogunde more now, and I think we can now have somebody to replace the likes of Odunlade Adekola and Femi, in those kind of epic roles. I think there's somebody now that we can see that yes has that natural ability to deliver, and I think it was quite effective in his role interpretation as Basharon. So which I really love. I always like to look forward to his next scene and all that, but he's dead now in the film. I don't know what's up for him and all that, but it's a good one. And the story wise, it's a good effort as well. And I think Kunle is now really now touring into the line of storytelling. I don't want to talk because we're talking about the good now. So I would just say that he's making a good effort in that aspect now, and Gabriel Afolayan, if you are a director, you can never be wrong with Gabriel. He's going to deliver for you very well. It's so fantastic. His delivery was good. Arola Kebimba, give it to her. She really did. She really did well as well in her interpretation. Then Shola Shobawale, I didn't really feel her much though, beyond the scene of her confrontation with Bashar. After that, everything was for me kind of flat. That was the only place I got to see. I got to see her, and but overall, it was a good one, and it was a great effort, and hopefully we get to see more of this kind of productions, that tells our stories more and all that. And the epic, it just gives us this nostalgia feeling of while we were growing up, the stories that we kind of heard and everything. So I think Kunle is trying to imbibe that in his productions and all. And for me, it's a good one. That's what I would say for now. Yeah.
All right, thank you, Mr. C. Do you have more to add?
I'm going to read Ade's goods. He said, I enjoyed the Alafin versus Basharon storyline, although it's not explored well. Lateef Adimeji's makeup that de-aged him is well done. His acting to go with it as well. I think he's my favorite performance in the film, despite how little he had to do. Bimbo Ademoye is a close next favorite performance. Okay. For me, my goods, I like seeing Gabby. He's a cute short king. I thought the person who played Omaomi, Kunle's daughter, I think she's cute, very pretty. Young, which works for, her character. Her character was a young girl who used to do anyhow, and I think, that kind of fits. The guy who played Basharon, I thought he was decent. And I don't have any more goods than what a few people have said. Not that it didn't do some stuff well. I just don't have anything I feel like praising right now.
All right. Okay. So in addition to, I think I can co-sign a lot of performances generally. I thought Kunle did really well. I think between these roles by Kunle and Kunle, Remy, and Bimba Ademoye, I think these are their best performances of roles I've seen from them. So I think I don't mind being on record saying that. And I think you have to give Kunle Afolayan some credit, given that he's brought out these kind of performances from both of them. Must have been said about the production design and stuff. I want to say, because I don't like this movie. It's not this series. I don't like this series. We'll get to that, but there is a lot in the. I think it was Africa on Twitter. Pentage said he put out a tweet saying if Hollywood has like big budget and Korea has like drama or something like that, but basically all these different countries having and Europe has like art house, like all these sections basically having their niche in the market. Like, what can Nigeria have? And I think this is a good example. No. This kind of work is a good example of where I think we can do well in. And I think so. At least Kunle's idea of this kind of movie where we're back in, we're dealing with like magic of the time and dealing with this kind of period piece with the magic of the time, I think it's a good place to really look at certain do a lot of our films in. I think Juju's Stories is probably a better example of, again, something like this. But if we're talking about just this film, which was series, which was supposed to be, I think the idea of this kind of show, I think I like the idea of this show. All right, okay, that's as much as I can do. All right, so what we don't like, Vanessa.
Okay. I wanted to like this. I really did. I literally woke up. I mean, I was getting ready for work. I downloaded like 4 episodes. I was like, I'm gonna try and watch it throughout the day. It was a Friday, guys, so light day at work. But like, I really wanted to like this. And I hate that every time we talk about things that we don't like when it comes to Nollywood. It almost feels like at this point I'm a broken record when I say basics of a story. At the end of the day, production quality, love that for us. Great soundtrack, beautiful. All of that's great. But if the story for which that's supposed to hold me is not is is so loosely tied together, what am I supposed to be watching here? You know, I remember I'd watched the first episode almost halfway through the second episode, and someone asked me how it was going. I said, it's pretty slow paced right now, but I don't mind the pace. Hopefully, they don't end up rushing the end and like in the usual way. And it just became slow. It genuinely was slow for the entirety of it, and at the same time, very confusing. What is it with Nollywood with time and distance? We seem to have an issue portraying time and distance in our films because especially when you're doing a sequel. In the first film, Saro had children, didn't he? And then so why are we now in this second series talking about the time between they left and when they didn't leave, rounding up to about basically 3 years. I kept hearing 3 years, 3 years, 3 years. And I was like, but this man had children. In fact, we had complained in the first film that Arolake had aged like they've been away for close to 10 years. So how many years is it? Also, if how convenient is it that all of a sudden it was easy for Arolake to travel from wherever the village she was to back to Oyo town so quickly to go and see the king. Meanwhile, it took I don't know. Like I get it, she was traveling on foot, but even though you people are not portraying time and distance in a way that it makes sense and is plausible to me that I'm watching it. Haba. Also, you don't establish a character like Bashorun and then throw him aside. And this is my thing when you have these many people, but that's what series is supposed to enable you do, right? If it was a movie, we can say they don't have enough time to rein in and corral all these many characters and many subplots and all these many other things. But this is a 6 episode series. You, at the very least, if you pace this thing right, you can corral as many of these subplots into something that makes a lick of sense, right? Bashorun, you establish this man as someone of royal lineage who just isn't on the throne, whose son is his way into getting into the throne, which is why he's all for this marriage, but also has disdain for the king because his role as warlord is being underplayed. He's wealthy, so he can do things on his own. You've established that. You've also established that the king, for whatever reason, isn't listening to the Ifa priest. But Ifa priest and Bashorun have something going. And then you just abandon it. You give us one random conversation and then you abandon Bashorun for like a few days. And then when you finally bring him, all that thing where it was like, oh, this man has such great political understanding based off of what was established, and like his thing with the magic of getting Adigun to speak the truth because he gave him truth serum in the food, whatever. Bringing him to the throne room and all of that, his avoidance of meetings, them attributing it to either his pride or his or his shame, all of that, you establish all of that and then you abandon it. And then when you bring Basharun back, Basharun is making the most head-ass decisions and almost feels like his decisions are anywhere Bele face at this point. Time is up. Can I come back? Because there's so much more to say.
Yeah, you can come back. All right. Thanks, Vanessa. Okay, now who's next? Inko, please tell us what you did not like about Anikulapo.
Okay, I think I'm going to have to come back, but okay. Now, like, I don't... There's a lot to forgive in a movie. This is a TV show. They will have known the amount of, what's it called? Episodes that they're going to have. It's Netflix. Netflix tends to have smaller episodes, something. I would say that because it's a TV show, the immediate anyhow, remember I said that there's one female character that I just don't understand why she's doing what she's doing. The Palm Wine's daughter. Let me just start with that, because I don't think anybody's going to mention this. All of a sudden, she's giving up her family for Saro. We only see Saro and her talk one scene. If it was a movie, it's understandable. This is a TV show. What? Yes. Did they indicate that the father is not necessarily nice? She did say the father did send what's it called? The mother out. Now we later know who the mother is and everything. Yes. But this is still back in the day. We still have this culture of like, your family is your family. Your family is your family. You listen to your mother and your father. This is a Yoruba culture thing. Anything that we think is still strong here. Back in the day, it was much, much more stronger. And you're telling me this girl is just going to all of a sudden something without giving me more of an interiority into what she's thinking. Makes no sense. Even though if she turns out to be the thing that connects Saro back to back to Shola Shabawe's character, who's lovely, by the way. I like that character. But like, out of like the female characters that like have some focus, you know, I don't think she's giving much more of an interior, like, let's see her interior thoughts. Even if she makes that decision, I'm not saying the decision that she makes something. Let's see her interior thoughts, because what she's just made is a very big deal back in the day. It's a very big deal. The other thing is this. I know they said, Kunle said this is going to be Game of Thrones, and I have not seen Game of Thrones, but I've heard enough of Game of Thrones. Now, is this something that is going to focus on court politics? Okay, if this is going to sort of focus on court politics, Bashorun is the title given to the Prime Minister. Okay, cool. You introduce the Prime Minister, you introduce the King. If anybody has seen Korean dramas or even any something, even with the British too, prime ministers and kings tend to fight because it's about power. And we did see them fighting. We do see everything that Vanessa just said, but we don't focus on that. Okay, it's cool. Sometimes too much political something just focuses on like the powers of the elite and not realize that, look here, politics and like the way world works is very intricate. What happens outside the common people may not have that much power, but the common people do decide things. Like, if the common people are eating, if the common people are not, if there's bread riots, if there's all those things, there is a reason why the French Revolution happens. There's a reason why in China there was also so many. Even here in Oyo, remember I said the story about like, the prime minister can go and kill the Oyo Meshi, and all the other people can go and kill the king. Like, it's a constitutional monarchy. There is this something of all of those things. All right, is that the story you're telling? Okay, no, you're not telling that story. All right, you're telling that story. Okay, The other thing is this: you gave a promise. Your trailer gave a promise of more of magical things happening in it. The magical things, even though yes, indeed, it took a long road, and they did indeed affect the plot. What happened is that the magical things wasn't really there as much. It seems they were playing backhand. They were in the shadows more, so it wasn't even very mystical. I assume it's my time to go, but like there was just so many things about this story that they didn't think about, the time and the something that they have, and it was too much. Can I come back?
Yeah, of course you can come back. Thanks, Inko. Yeah, Otas.
Even me, maybe probably end up coming back because I'm halfway through episode 6 and I have more confusion than necessarily bad, which I guess is its own bad. The timeline is super confusing to me and has been from the beginning. Episode there was a lot of uselessness, fillers. I don't know, just lots of extra stories that so far don't seem to connect too much. And so there are a lot of fillers and a lot of scenes that can be cut out. This is 6 hours long, and the 6 hours doesn't seem to even be really addressing the things that are set up. But I guess I'll find out in 20 to 30 minutes. So far, I'm still firm that I think it's a waste that the story Bimbo and Akin were telling is not more central and focused on. I honestly would rather have watched Bimbo's story like from beginning to end as one long movie. But it's hard to even try and piece her story together right now because there's just so many disjointed things happening. I'm actually more confused now than when I started. I'm not clear on the mechanics of his dwindling time or why he and Arulaka, calling her Bimbo, but Arulaka just randomly got wealth. And so if somebody has clarity for that, I would love to hear it. I'm confused about why the mother and daughter are living apart. So that's about this character and her pregnant daughter. I don't understand why they're in different villages. Outside respect, like someone mentioned earlier, I don't understand how she married him, is pregnant, her mom doesn't know. The dad doesn't know. The dad knows, I guess, but is also still like there's an episode where he's telling the hunter about him and he's rejoicing about his downfall, and it's like, isn't that your daughter's husband? And he at no point does he even mention that it's his daughter's husband. He doesn't even mention his daughter. I don't know if Latif's storyline becomes clear in episode 6. I don't know why it is or why it's happening. At some point I was sure Awolaran was gay. But also he likes a princess. I don't know, but I just know there was a lot of focus on his inability to mate. Plus, he was very focused on carving that sculpture's penis. So I just don't know. I just have a lot of confusions right now. So I hope in 20 minutes I can come back here with more clarity.
I can't promise you that you will, but good luck. Nollywood must change. Let's go.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, wait. Rotimi.
Oh, come on, Mrs. C.
Ekene. Rotimi, please.
I know.
What did you not like?
Yeah, I know. I'm going to try and simplify this thing. First things first. I think there's a story in Anikulapo. I just think that whatever that story, because I checked the timing of all the episodes. So roughly, let's just say average, all the episodes are around, just let's say, give or take, just let's 60 minutes. So let's just say as an hour. So there are 6 episodes. So that's like 6 hours. There's a story in Anikulapo, but you don't need 6 hours to tell it. At best, 3. For my own runtime, the story that was in Anikulapo could have been told in 2. So there's so I'm going to call this like there's this thing I found, like I've been watching a couple of Nollywood movies and I call it padded runtime. Like we're trying to make this thing as long as what we need for whatever like spec we're trying to make for dramatic content, but we don't have enough content to fill up the runtime. So for me, like there were long periods of extended exposition dialogue where I kept looking at things and I was like, I know this thing. You are telling me this thing and you're having a discussion about this thing. It's taking too long. And I make like this side comments. I was really watching it with a bunch of people. The people that slept woke up. The people that were on their phones. The people that went out of the room and came back. What did I miss? You did not miss anything because it was that long and it dragged. It dragged a lot. By the time it got to the end, everything started tying up, but it just kind of dragged. For me, episode 1, when Kunle Remi's character is on the path, on the way to the portal to heaven and everything. I don't know if anybody else noticed, but like the extras, it just felt like they slapped, like it took a piece of powder, just rubbed it on the extras' faces, and I was like, okay, is this to indicate these guys are the dead and they are going into the afterlife? It was just like, okay, then the people that they said turned into statues. I wanted to take a picture. Every time I take a picture, I just start laughing that no, I can't see this picture because it's laughable. The guys that were turned to statue, the makeup on them was laughable. It was funny. There's only one thing I really have one issue also again in Anikulapo. I don't know if there's no consequence for jazz again, no consequence for juju, no consequence for magic again. Like, okay, Kunle Remi gets to the portal. They say that no, you have to bring back the souls that you resurrected. So it's almost like, okay, is there a time limit on this thing? You go back, you start bringing back souls. Then the blind woman gives you a way to escape that and turn to a human being. But I'm like, are there no consequences for the souls you don't bring back? Then you turn back into a human being. Now you have 3 souls that you brought back, but now they're hanging out with you. Then they lead you to palm wine, to a palm wine business. Then suddenly 3 years, okay, the palm wine stops. Like, I'm just like, why are these magical things that don't have consequence? That don't seem to have, like, if this doesn't happen, if you don't use this magical instrument in this way, what happens to you? Then it was also funny for me, the princess and her husband to be. Then I think there was Mago that they put in front of her door that kills her suitor, kills the Oba's daughter's husband at night. I'm like, okay, I'm guessing it might be Adedimeji's character, but I'm like, there's no explanation. That Mago is just in front of the door. The guy dies, no explanation. Who has, why did they kill that guy? Maybe it was Basharon. I don't know. It's just there. So, for me, it was just that it was so long. That's all. Then also kind of like Awolanke's character when she goes into the middle of the night and she sleeps and wake up and the spirits give her the pulse of wealth. I'm like, why? Okay, what's the purpose of this? Why specifically did this girl just sleep and wake up and suddenly have a pulse of wealth? So like, there's nothing, they don't really give her explanation. There's no concept. Just, okay, you have a pulse of wealth just because we have magic and we can use it. So apart from that, nothing much apart from the fact that it was really long. It was a stretch. It was a real chore to watch this. It was a real chore. Like, it wasn't fun to watch because like there's something somebody said, they were talking about another movie that there's not much of a story there, but the making, that there's a lot of great making. This one is the reverse. I think there's a lot of story. I like the story. I just don't think this making of how the story is made really works for me, just in terms of me as an audience member. It works for everything, whoever made it makes it, but not for me. So yeah, thank you.
Thanks, Rotimi. And yes, I am with you. It did feel like a chore. Nollywood must change. What did you not like about Anikulapo?
Okay, thanks for having me back. I will start with, there was no need for this series, actually. We don't need it. Because the main characters we had in Anikulapo, that was Saro and Arolake, they became like, should I say, side characters that were needed, to push the story for another new character, actually. Yeah. Before I go into the writing, let me just talk about the performances I didn't like. I didn't like the I don't know her name. I've forgotten the character's name. The lady who married Saro. Yeah, I didn't like her performance because maybe because the way she was delivering her lines, because maybe because I'm Yoruba, yeah, because I didn't like the delivery of her lines. It was just like I could feel she's acting, you know, because if you're an actor, you should be able to immerse me. Like I should believe, oh, this is real. I could feel she was acting, and Bashorun, to the way he was delivering his line, I could feel he was acting. There's difference between when Shola is acting. If Shola is acting, you wouldn't know that. You know she's an actor, right? But you don't. Oh, this person is acting. It feels real that this is what how someone would normally talk. This, but I didn't enjoy Bashorun's delivery of lines. It was just most time too slow for me, and I could feel it was acting. So, talking about the writing, I think this uh series had the same problem Anikulapo, the movie, the main film, had, because the story of Saro becoming Anikulapo, being able to raise the dead, started like much later into the main movie. And the same thing happened again in this series. I think the whole story they wanted to tell happened toward the end of episode 5 and episode 6. Because from episode 1 to episode 4, I was bored to death. I was bored to death. I didn't enjoy it at all because it felt like the act one of a movie. Like they were setting up things to happen. So I was kind of like, okay, is this what they are talking? Because Game of Thrones, like, is like a slow burn series with actions actually, but because most of the time it was as if they were setting up things, but you would enjoy it. But this one, I didn't enjoy the setting up. It was too slow and most of the scenes dragged. So I don't want to repeat what most people have been saying. Most of the scenes dragged, and the characters in this one were making stupid choices. You created characters that they were not reasoning with as if they were not reasoning with their brain. Like, why would Saru come back and still be calling himself Saru? Arolake, who is being haunted, still calling herself Arolake. You know, I was just wondering what's going on in this series. Why are these people making this kind of mistakes? Because I was wondering why would Arolake want to go back to the palace to become a queen where they wanted to kill her. What excuse would she give? I didn't understand because they were kind of forcing love triangles in this series. The princess, I was confused. Did she like the Bashorun's son, or she didn't? I was kind of confused. Why would you like someone and you didn't tell him? Then someone else came. You like this person? No, he's tall and handsome. Then when they battled it out, you were angry because if the person you wanted to marry beats your friend, and you are not telling us you like him. I was confused. Why are they forcing these love triangles? Even between, I was kind of worried that if Bashorun wanted his son to marry the princess, and the boy loves the princess, why is he not doing what his father wants? Why is he not doing it? So the characters were making choices that were unreasonable for me. And I don't know, maybe they were not having enough motivation because even Bashorun, he wants to be an in-law to the king. Why does he insult the king even to his face? I was wondering why. What's going on in this series?
Right.
Villain, you are trying to take the throne. Why are you insulting the king to his face? So for now, that's all I want to say.
All right. Thanks. Not much change. All right. We're gonna be here for a bit. I can tell. People are still planning on going second round. All right. Pearl, do you want to say what you didn't like about?
Yeah. Let me just start by saying that, Mr. C, when you started by saying you didn't like this series, I just felt immediately validated because I did not like this series, and I thought there was something wrong with me because sometimes when you're watching and then you're seeing, like, I mean, we've been at this for a long time. I should know better. But when I go out there, like on Twitter, and see like what people are saying all over the place, even people that, let's just say, you would expect differently from, it makes you start to second guess yourself. So it was, sometimes I just need to hear it stated that simply and that directly and unequivocally, I did not like this series. And then we can start going into the nuances or good and bad and whatnot. So I watched this series in one sitting, but that doesn't say much because I'm a reviewer. I kind of have to, but also I was ill, so I was kind of stuck. But if I was just like a regular person choosing, would I have watched this past like the first terrible minutes of like episode 2? I don't think so. Like I've said, I quite liked the beginning and what I thought was the setup, but episode 2 just killed me, and I don't think I recovered until the end, even if it did start to try to pick up when it got to like Arolake story and the rest. But it just forgot its protagonist for really long stretches. They were not doing anything. There was just there was just so many things that were wrong with this series. It's like it's not good. And like someone said, wrote to me, said there's a story there, but it's so padded and covered with the weeds that you can't even find it. I'm like, they had a good foundation too. And for me, that's the toughest thing. So why do you feel the need like to split yourself in 100 million directions and trying to do so many things? Please, I don't want to hear any Game of Thrones reference here again, because I can tell the story of Game of Thrones like start to finish, even with all the multiple storylines. I don't know what was happening in this series. My brain is like cotton wool. Like, I'm so confused. I can't even form a coherent narrative about this series. And just these endless shots of the council sitting and talking, people talking, things happening, backstories, just all kinds of things that I don't know. So this series was very frustrating, honestly. And like someone, so I called it just a lot of like filler scenes and, you know, passive protagonists. So yeah, I'm still trying to like bring my own thoughts in, just the, find the language for just articulating all that is wrong with this series. But for me, I think I came away just feeling like this felt very indulgent, very indulgent. It feels like when people have too much money thrown at them and they can't do anything. And in a way, it upsets me because this is very honestly a Yoruba thing right now, which is through, how do I say this? It's been, the industry is set up in a way that Yoruba Nollywood is like way ahead as far as access and opportunities and all of that. And at this point, it's starting to feel indulgent. It's starting to feel like we're getting all the money thrown at us. We really can tell the same stories over and over, rinse, repeat, wash, do whatever we want. And it's just that that's overwhelmingly the feeling I came away with from this series, which is just indulgence. Like, we don't need to write a good movie anymore. We don't need to do a good script anymore. We don't need to care about good stories anymore. We just have this money, and we have our ready-made audience that is going to watch it no matter what. So yeah, I see your hand, Mr. C. Honestly, I don't have much more to say. Thank you.
All right. No, thanks, Pearl. Appreciate it, especially in your condition. Thank you. Jamie, you are next. Hey, Batman T, I see you have requested. I haven't accepted you because, like, your account looks a little dodgy. I'm not sure if you're a real person or a troll. But if you are, just comment underneath, and I'll bring you straight up. If you're a serious person and you want to just partake in the conversation, I will bring you up. But you do have it says like you have like one follower or something. Which
I thought this was an open space. Why can't trolls like Nollywood?
No. Just I've let in people on here that have just come in and just like background music, background music, sang or just done something just weird. whatever. I'm just saying, if the person does want to have the conversation, he's fine to just comment underneath the space and let me know that you're a serious person. All right, Jamie, please go on.
All right, yeah. Thank you. What I was just saying is this. For Nigerian film industry in particular, we always find it difficult telling stories. Like, I don't know, I don't understand, and comparing it to Game of Thrones is not even close to it at all. And the storytelling is, I think this would have been better for just a film of 2 or 3 hours, and people will be fine. And I think it's kind of dragged a lot, and it was so slow. I was like, why is this film so slow? And you kind of think, okay, maybe they are trying to achieve something at the end of the day, but at the end, it didn't mean anything to me. So, and I can also, maybe, I'm just thinking for them, maybe because of Netflix influence and all that, then trying to please Netflix and all, probably that is affecting the storytelling part of it. But all the same, you could understand that there were no proper scene treatment in it. And when you're plotting, if you have good scene treatment, you will be able to see some of those lapses and some of those things that might definitely will drag the story. So I think there was not much work on it. They've rather focused on the visuals, which is cinematography and all, sound and all that. Yeah, the design and all that. I think that was what they actually focused on. Then the story, they were just jumping, cutting, and I mean, it wasn't something I thought would actually happen because of the hype and all that. So, but it is what it is, and we don't define in our storytelling, we don't define our time very well, time and period. So you could say, oh, or your, yeah, okay, or your, you, if you had used maybe another name, maybe Baggy Town or something, or just different a fictional name, we would understand. But you telling us Oyo and calling Oyo Messi and all that. I mean, who has seen Bashorunga? Bashorung is very strong. It's a very powerful word. You can't just kill Passion like a chicken, and he just dies like that. Even if whatever thing you want to say. So I don't think Oyo people would actually be happy with that kind of portrayal of Passion, because if you are given that title, it's powerful. You can't just kill him just like that. I mean, you already showed that this man has powers. He was able to hypnotize that you're going to speak up and everything. Then he just died like a chicken, just like that. So for me, I think that was not good. It didn't really utilize that personnel very very well, and you could basically see that there were many efforts from individual acting, so there was no really much of directorial touch in most of the characters, and that's very very glaring. So, and also at the end part, that's the where you have Shola Shobawale, it was just like, what, let's just do this and let's just wrap it up. You understand? There was not. I didn't see any. If there was supposed to be a cliffhanger, I said, okay, fine. Oh, we should be expecting something more. But you see that particular scene, I was like, I mean, I didn't really feel it. It was just like, Shola, even while the camera was zooming off, you could see that Shola Shobelto was kind of, laughing or something. It wasn't. I don't understand. I didn't really feel that scene. It was just there that let's just do this thing and and I think that's one thing that happens to most of our films, whereby they have a good beginning, and at the middle it just nosedives, and that's it, and it just continues, goes flat. So I think that's, for me, that's one of the things that actually put me off in all the film. I actually wanted to watch it because, okay, let me just see what eventually happened. I watched it at a stretch for 6 hours. I didn't stay go off, but let me just see what's going to happen at the end of the day and everything. But it was so draggy, and I was like, I mean, this thing shouldn't be like this and all that. So, and I think it has to be with the plotting and the process of telling the story. So they didn't really do much work on it, and it was more or less like a rush project to me. And this is where I'll come in to say that we might feel Netflix is trying to help the industry, but I mean, it's to me, it's doing otherwise in some aspect when it comes to the art itself. But because you have to see it's business for them, so they have to try as much as possible to rush things, and okay, let's just do this thing and just send it. It's business, as people get to view it, but the art itself is what is really really is going to affect at the end of the day, and that is why what people have been saying is really relating to the art of storytelling, the art of filmmaking, and all that. So that part is not really strong. So what I want to come again, maybe. Thank you.
All right, Jeremy, no worries. We'll get you back on. Follow up, please, can you tell us some of the things you noticed, liked or disliked, because you were not here for the lights?
Thank you. Thank you very much. Honestly, I started watching the series with a lot of expectation because I liked the original movie and I thought that I was going to get the same feeling. And it started, it was promising, and then it kind of just tapered off, and then I got confused at some point. And then it ended, and I was like, okay, fine, it's ended. Um, it was just today I got to know that there's a season two coming. So I'm like, okay, yeah, maybe something there. But here are some parts of this series that I think could have been better. I agree with everyone talking about the storytelling. I think the storytelling, left a lot to be desired. And some of the storylines were unnecessary, if you ask me. My biggest problem was Arolake's storyline. I mean, Arolake in the original movie, everyone connected with her, and she was the main talking point, apart from Saro, the lead character himself. Arolake was a very, very strong character. But looking at this series, it didn't make sense. And I've been thinking about it since I watched it yesterday. And it still didn't. All the explanations I've heard, I've not really heard how it made sense that Arolake, after going through all of the things that she went through, packed her bags and then suddenly came into this forest, and then she got this mysterious wealth that we don't know why. And then she's living good, she's now treated like royalty, she has a good man who likes her, who would do anything for her. And she supposedly said, according to her, she's no longer giving space for love or anything like that in her life. But then she makes her way back to Oyo to beg this king that she didn't like. Remember, in the original series, she did everything she could to get away from him and the palace. And now she goes back. I thought she had. I was looking forward to finally when she will make her way to Oyo, when thinking that there's some big revenge plan in the works. But then she gets there and it's to kneel and beg to come back as princess, be as queen. Why? To what end? Like the entire thing from then on, and all of the, and then even the disguise, covering of face. I don't know. I'm trying to remember the title of that particular movie, but there's another Nollywood movie with a storyline like that. It's not a Yoruba movie though. It's I think I watched it on one of the Africa Magic channels a long time ago. But I remember that storyline distinctly. Disguise as a rich woman, send gifts ahead, and then finally get to, demand to see the king privately, and then finally reveal yourself. It's a tired storyline. We didn't need to see that here. Okay, fine, she did that. And then from then on till when she got into she was never supposed to be in prison. And then she's the one that they are going to execute while Saro gets to roam the earth. Uh, Meanwhile, Saro is supposed to have raised 20 people, from the dead, and then he was sent back to return all of them, and he returned three. What about the other 17? No consequences? So there's a lot of loose ends, but then they said there's a second season coming. So I don't know what the second season is going to do, because, like the last speaker just said, this one didn't leave any cliffhangers. At the end, we saw and they lived happily ever after kind of situation with Awaron and her daughter and the new grandbaby. And Arolake shows up, of course, to come and deliver Saru's message. And the way Awaron just accepted, Aralake, just like that. Like, this is a girl that took off with, the a boyfriend you used to be with, and caused all of that trouble and all of that. And then it's just, oh, welcome, sit down. This is Saru. It doesn't make any sense. So there's I feel like and then, yeah, I wanted to mention Basharon's character. Actually, that's one of my favorite characters. Maybe because I'm partial to, Herbert Ogunde, and that was his son. And I liked him. He's a gorgeous man. And I was really enamored by him. I watched his eyes throughout his acting. But I felt like if you know who Basharon is in Yoruba land, you can't who is Kuranga's boys? I mean, who are Kuranga's boys that they will just Basharun is someone that walks with, walks with authority and with all sorts of arms and amulets. You can't just kill him like that. And finally, just before I go, because I'm not going to speak again, the Yoruba language that is spoken in this movie, I talked about it when the original came out, and then I still see the problem in this particular series. Some of these actors are struggling with the Yoruba language, and it's painful to hear, especially if you are from Oyo and you have lived in Oyo and you know Oyo Yoruba. That is not it. Some of them are mixing; they are speaking like Lagos people, struggling to speak authentic Yoruba. It's grating to the ears. But what do we do? Anywho, thank you very much for letting me speak.
All right, no worries. Thanks for that. I appreciate it. All right, Badman T.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Yes, I am a serious person. I don't have Twitter on my phone and I don't remember my password, unfortunately, which is why I'm using my secondary account. So I have a few things to say, if you permit me. I wasn't here for the parts of the film that I enjoyed, so I'll just speak on them really quickly. To second what Fola said, I thought the turn by the actor who plays Basharon was excellent. He was quietly menacing, and I think that's exactly the kind of regal portrayal that role required. I detest that he was killed so prematurely, and he was killed in a way that did not befit the kind of power and the prestige that position usually wields, right? It doesn't make any sense. His death was very cheap, and I think it kind of betrayed the character as a whole. That's one. But I really, really liked the performance by the actor. I thought he was A1. Gabe Afolayan as well. But I mean, that's not saying anything. He's been excellent as an actor since he was a child. And once again, he was excellent, right? The women, I'm very disappointed with the portrayal of the women. I think I second everything Fola said about Arolake. And I want to say something that I think is actually, I don't know if this is just my own conclusion or if this is where the director is actually heading. The actual Anikulapo is Arolake. She is the Anikulapo. She is the one who, from my deduction, from watching the film and watching the series, she is the one who's meant to help to stop the foray of Ede into oil. Because she had the gift to, uh, uh, make people undead. Then she also got the gift of money. Nobody else got all these mystic powers in the entire film and in the series, only her. Which signifies to me that she is the most important character. She is the savior of the town, of the city, right? And I think part of my disappointment is once you call it Oyo and you understand Yoruba history, you understand the majesty of the Oyo kingdom, the way it was portrayed in this film was so underwhelming. And I think they probably should have just made it a fictional town instead of Oyo, because to see it be that kind of scant and scatty doesn't do the history of Oyo justice. The Oyo Messi, they're calling 6 people Oyo Messi. We haven't even reached into all the people that make the Otunba, the Osioba, the this, the Yoba. Like it's a retinue, hundreds of people that make up the kingdom of Oyo. And ironically, the king was probably the least powerful of the monarchy in Old Oyo, right? So the portrayal of Oyo is really grating to me, and the inconsistency in the Oyo Yoruba really irritates me. That's why I wasn't one of those who was upset that Kunle Remi did not get that award. He's struggling to deliver Oyo Yoruba, seriously struggling. They think the extent of old Yoruba is saying for and they can say Basharon, but somehow they end up saying inse, but they can say Basharon. Like it doesn't, there's no, it seems like a really tiny thing, but that kind of directorial, like kind of oversight is quite grating. And I think what's his face? Mr. Afolayan, no, not Afolayan, the director whose name escapes me right now. I think he has a Tyler Perry problem, right? Where you make something good, something decent, you get an audience, and you kind of stay stuck there, right? You don't invite new perspectives, you don't sort of invite new writers to see the glaring potholes. And I think people have mentioned it. Like I said, I wasn't here before. Why the hell would I be on the run and maintain the same name, stay basically within walking distance of the same environments that I was running from? Why would I, as a woman who can buy, lay, buy or no, not do that until it becomes apparent and immediate that I need to save myself? And her army was so trash, her security was so trash. The Afobaje from the palace came and they just basically sorted them aside and grabbed her. They didn't even put up a fight. This is a private army that her friend had been training and sponsoring for a while. So these little things. And then you had the Olori. The motivation of the Olori was never really clear to me, apart from the fact that they did not want Kabiesi to take another wife. But these are women that ordinary Olori, they know exactly what's going on in the palace. They know who's moving right, who's moving left. Their motivations cannot be the king can't take a new wife or the king wants to let Arolake back in. Where are their own their thirst for power? Where are the intrigues in their actions and the things that they're doing undercover? The king has only one child. The king doesn't have an Arole. The king doesn't have older children. I mean, she has an older Olori. Where are her children? Like these things seem a bit petty, but it's just, if you're going to speak to the grandeur of the palace, these are some of the things that are missing that makes the palace look so ordinary. The palace of Oyo in particular makes it look so ordinary. And I'm severely underwhelmed by the performance of the chiefs, because also, just like the women, their own motivations are not clear. You have somebody who's a clear rival of the Basharon as part of the Oyo Missy, but what are his motivations? Why is he Basharon's rival? Why? So these are some of the things that I found lacking about the series. And I really hope that the writer considers inviting other points of view into the next season. Otherwise, I'm pleased the series is being made and I look forward to the next one. Even with all my complaints, I enjoyed it. Thanks.
All right, thanks, Batman T. There's a lot of love for you in the comments. I don't know whether I should read them, but you can check them out if you want. All right. I think Ava came on. Ava, do you want to give us your
Sorry, please. I just finished this movie. I can't believe this. People pay.
Ava, go.
Oh, sorry. I think I actually pressed the request by mistake. I'm not speaking this week. I'm so sorry, guys.
Okay. We know what that means. We don't know what that means. All right. Okay.
Dare you?
What? All right. Mrs. E, do you want to do your first round? Time yourself.
Just assuming that I'm gonna have multiple rounds is I feel a bit offended. But yeah. All right. So I really, really, really did not like this series. I could go so far as to say I think I hated it. And I think I felt worse about it the more I watched it. 6.5 hours of this was unnecessary, uncalled for, and just cruel to me. So, the mention of padded runtime. We eventually had to put this on 1.5 speed. And I asked, why is everyone moving so slowly at 1.5 speed? We wasted so much time on scenes that we got the general gist of 15 minutes ago, and we are still here, right? Still on these scenes. I think someone mentioned going in different directions, and it's simply a lack of focus. I don't think this is specific to Kunle, right? We lack focus. And I think this is the reason why Anikulapo the second installment of Anikulapo ended up a series instead of another movie. It's this desire to tell this broad epic. You want to have an epic story. So you're trying to put everything in it instead of focusing on A to B. And this lack of focus showed in how much the series dragged and how we don't even know who. At some point, we wonder, who are we following, right? Who are we following? What is going on? What are these people's motivations? There was an anyhowness to this series that something being made by someone with Kunle Afolayan's experience and pedigree should not contain. I think someone has mentioned Arolake. I don't understand. Completely have no understanding of what her motivations were. Okay, we want to stop running. And as such, I've come up with this elaborate plan that I will not tell you until I get to the palace. And the plan is throw myself on the mercy of the king, gaslight gatekeep girl boss, deny the affair, and, hope that I have sweet mouth and other sweet lips that will convince him that I did not actually cheat on him with Saro the Weaver, and he will pardon me. Okay, one. Second one, Saro, what are his motivations? Okay, his life is sweet. The ghosts, what are their motivations? Because again, Saro plucks them out of life at for especially 2 out of 3 people at points where they want to be living life, right? First of all, Lai was so wasted in this, but his character was literally doing a big dance outside before going into his new wife, right? Lai's character had not even had a chance to remove his agbada before Saro went and snuffed the life out of him. And yet he's here thinking, all right, let's give this guy 3 years. This woman had just removed her baby from her back before Saro snuffed her life back out. And she's like, yeah, let's give this guy 3 years. I don't know what the other guy was doing. Maybe he hated his job.
He was weaving
and he was like, all
He's
right,
a businessman. He was
I saw him
He was
weaving.
Oga of the business.
I saw him weaving, but that's not... I've run out of time. I've run out of time.
You run out of time. Yes.
I've run out of time. It's not easy. But let me finish my motivation point. Come and beat me. But yeah, what are these ghosts' motivation for not only giving him extra time, but giving him the means to fully enjoy his life by giving him this thing, palm wine, that is just amazing, that can sell? What are their motivations? What is the motivation of that old woman who, when they first raised her, she still wanted to die? She was like, why y'all raising me? And she's like, life is sweet, oh. This Amala is very sweet, and as such, I don't want to die. Here's how you can get up. In fact, I will come back for round 2. I can hear you were right.
All right. Okay. So I also quite strongly dislike this series. Because I think at some point, one of the things that is very difficult to stomach is just wasting time. It's weird where maybe 15, 20 seconds into the scene, you get the gist, and it'll go on for another 6, 7 minutes to just repeat the same thing or tell you in a slightly different way. And the plot just is very slow moving, as many people have mentioned. All right. Many people have mentioned everything that I've said. But so I don't even know that I have much to add, because I think everybody has kind of covered everything I had to say. But let me say this. I went to listen to the first Anikulapo space we had. And it was interesting listening to it because a lot of people liked it, and a lot of people seem to like it generally with the writing. And I usually wait for other people to say, but I think I started the bad by saying we need to. I think we started the bad. It's like we need to get this writing thing off it, just because we did not like the writing. I thought the characters had the character motivations had issues. Thought Sarah and Aurelia. I was asking, and we got into a heated argument into what the characterization of people were supposed to be, and there were some people who say, "Hey, open your eye, open your eye, see it is right in front of you." And I was like, "It's not there, my G. It's not there. I'm looking. I think you're filling in some of these things." It's the same people who have written this part too. They've just tried to make it bigger, and I think the problems are it's the same problems. When I said I don't know I don't know who Saro is, because at some point he seems like this helpless person who's just rolling with the punches and all of that, and then all of a sudden he turns into just a weird rapist, and a bunch of things come out of nowhere. Aralake is really seems like really street smart and very street savvy, and then she just gives up the gourd and for no reason. And then she lets her mates. She lets somebody who had been hired to help her just mistreat her. It just I feel like the signs have been there. I'm sorry, the signs were there from the first part, and it has just gotten much worse. now we can see like the characterizations and the character motivations are even worse. Like people are going, well, I don't understand why this person did this. I was like, no. It's been there. It has been there. The one person that I thought was steady was Shola Shobaole's character, who they decided to mess up in this one, because I thought we went from Shola, what's her name? I can't remember her name. We went from that character she had to Oba. Oba was in this movie a couple of times. She was speaking to somebody who had power over. She went from speaking to. She went from patronizing Saro in ways like almost like talking to him like he's a babysitter who understand. Like, look, I want somebody for you who will love you and respect you. You know, that kind of cute way of like keeping him down when he's like, I want to marry you. She went from that to like harassing somebody who actually had good influence over her and could like actually do damage to her. It just, all I have to say for this is, I'm glad you guys are finally joined the club. Well done. So yeah, that's my part. All right, so we're going to go through the second round. For the people who wanted, Vanessa, did you have stuff you wanted to?
Okay. See, this is my thing. I'm gonna speak on like our two main leads and beyond character motivations, just the development of their characters over the 6 episodes. We begin with Saro at the gates of heaven. We are told he owes a debt. He has to pay back that debt. They give him whatever that amulet was. He goes into the world, killing people like a serial killer. No thought process, just vibes. Meets this old woman, and you know what? I could even buy that his decision to want life again is in keeping with some bit of the selfishness that he exhibited in the first film. I'll accept it. Bakome, I will take it. But then you move on to this man just waltzing about, talking about I can live, and you people can see me now. I'm no longer walking around this place like a spirit, and you're going by your name. One, you're going by Saro, forgetting you are a wanted criminal. You are willingly accepting the help of this ghost who are following you. You are collecting palm wine of widow of Zarephath that does not finish, Abby, and and he's just basically just skating through life. There's no plan of action. There's nothing. He pleads for 3 years. To do what? What is the 3 years for? What are we doing? And then on the other side of the forest is Arolake trotting about, being hurt by the tiniest thorn and yelling to high heavens for whatever reason. But okay, she falls asleep. And mind you, we had this prediction of how, she's the special one. She have jazz. She do it somehow can go between spirit and human being realm. All these predictions about how important Arolake is to this plot line and this story. And then Arolake falls asleep in the forest and actually does go into the spirit realm. But in that scene, you don't tell us what about Arolake makes these spirit creatures want to help her. What is so special about her? That, mind you, Akala bed is not part of the spirit world. Is the Akala bed not angered at her for smacking him with a stick and stealing his god of life? So somehow there's a disconnect in the spirit world. Apparently they don't have email or phone to tell each other that Akalabed is angry, don't give this girl pouch of unending wealth. But no, for whatever reason, she's found the face of favor among these spirit creatures. Why? What was the reason? No problem. Convenient. My girl wakes up with ending pouch of money. She's a wealthy woman. Talking about built herself a castle almost big enough to rival the palace in Oyo. And what is she doing? Allah and Samaria giving people money. Kosiwala, no problem. But then you give us this whole thing about her formulating a plan. Akin comes, gives you reconnaissance and says, do you know people are looking for you? You're wanted. Don't forget that you are wanted. You are calling attention to yourself. And her solution is to become a Nikabi. Her solution is to wear a niqab. And no, let's be for real. So her solution is to become a niqabi. And then, yeah, people will not see my face. All these many years that they've been seeing your face and calling you by your name, Nko, am I stupid? And then you formulate a plan, and her plan is to go and kneel in front of the king. Are you kidding me? And then, no problem. She goes and she gives herself up. Yeah? What happened to the Ifa saying they have to do sacrifices about the whole thing? These chiefs, I'm sorry, the Oyomesi are deplorable in this. They sit around in the throne room doing beer parlor gist. You know what? And baseline of this entire thing. Kasha Madupe, I'm tired.
All right. Thanks, Vanessa. I think, did you have a little bit more you wanted to say?
Yes. I've already talked about the palm wine's daughter something. Look, it, the thing about a seed is that you cannot. Seeds are always they are there. If you water it too much, it can become bad. You just have to get it right. You are right, Mr. C. The seed that was there from the beginning was okay enough for the movie that most people could have can still accept it. But they water their seed a little bit too much. For a TV show, this is not the conditions and it's something you should be doing that type of seeding. And so now it's very bad. If you want to do this big epic story of multiple storylines, it cannot be 4 episodes. It cannot be 6 episodes. And you have to make it interesting. There are always little, tiny little plots throughout the entire story. And that's not what they're doing. They set up so many things that it doesn't even have. I'm just going to even focus on the palace politics because it seems like that's what they wanted to do in the first place. All the other chiefs, I don't know which one is which. I don't know their title. We only know Bason. And I think the other one, the one woman is Iyalode. As somebody has already told us, there are more chiefs and more something there. The king himself is a stupid king. The king does not seem to care about his own legitimacy. Are you mad? Oh, you're not even a mad king. You're just a king that like women. Okay, there are many kings that like women. He doesn't care. If Ifa comes, tells you that the Alaka bed is not even really attacking the something. He's attacking the Alaka bed is attacking through daily consequences of death. Somebody gets snake bite. Okay. The people are not even realizing that they are being disturbed by their lacquer bed. The people are not saying anything. We get to see the people just give us information about other people that don't concern them because we just need them to give us information. The people of Oyo, nothing. In the end, was it the other people just enter into Oyo anyhow? They enter into the palace with knives and everything, and they are there. Okay, this is Oyo Mercy. Oyo Ni. What are you talking about? It's okay. It's okay. You wanted to kill the Bashonu like a Caesar. Okay, kill him like a Caesar. But at least let him fight. Eh? And the Caesar scene is important because Caesar, right? It was when he doesn't have any what's it called? It was in a vulnerable position, and everyone killed Caesar for one very good reason. Caesar was too powerful. The other people just enter. This is not silliness. You want to do Caesar? It's okay, do Caesar. Hey, it's just what is this? And everybody has mentioned it. Why did she get money out of nowhere? What is the Spectre? Who is the person? What is the story? If you want to do multiple, okay. And also, I think they wanted to do this story where, people are moved by the fate of life. Is it fate or your decisions? Is it choice or something that is going to happen to you anyway? What is it? If you want to do this open-ended understanding of what is the question of this, that also takes literally time and knowing what your characters are doing. Our consequences can affect other people down the line, or even people that are not even near you. You can do that type of story, but it takes more than the how many hours that you're doing. And also, you have to actually be interesting. I'm just saying, there's a lot. Somebody has already mentioned the Oyomesi thing, and that's it. This was horrible. This was not that good, and that's it.
Okay, good person.
All right, thanks,
Okay,
Inka.
such a good person.
All right, we'll go Taz, and then we go Alainka,
Mr.
and then
C,
Batman.
I don't know how many
Yeah.
times I can personally tell you I don't like you, but you keep making me watch things that are personally offensive to me because I don't know why you would waste 6 hours.
But it has Kunle Remy in it,
6
though.
Not enough. He's only hot for one episode. There's 6 hours. And the crazy thing is, I started watching this 2 days ago on Friday when it came out, and I watched episode 1, fell asleep. Started watching episode 2, fell asleep. Resumed episode 2 later in the day, fell asleep. Realized I did not know what was happening, so I rewound episode 2, started all over, fell asleep until this morning when I was like, all right, this is happening, and let's try and conclude this. It is terrible. I don't know. I can't believe you guys were saying so much about Game of Thrones earlier. Where is the comparison, anything to Game of Thrones even coming from? I don't understand. All of the shitty season 8 of Game of Thrones, the worst episode in season 8 of Game of Thrones is significantly better than any story happening here. There's no story. I don't know what is happening. Nothing is resolved. Nothing makes sense. I don't know where someone said 60% of this movie will resolved. When? Where? How? Nothing is resolved because nothing makes sense. And so maybe the resolution is not supposed to make sense since the rest of it does not make sense. I will just have to be okay with that. But everybody in this is nonsensical. Every character in this is nonsensical. Every character in this is almost stupid, even. Even Akin, who comes back at the end, don't know where he went. We don't know where Akin goes. She doesn't ever look for Akin. She doesn't send anyone to look for Akin at any point ever. She knows where that man lives. Like, I'm pretty sure she knows his family's house. That's where they brought her to. At no point is she concerned for this man's well-being, other for like 30 seconds. He comes back. He rescued her. And then at the end, she's crying about the guy who stole her power, treated her badly till death, raped the maid, impregnated the maid, who then treated her badly as well. While her boyfriend, husband, I don't even know what he is, who just rescued her, is sleeping beside. Like, and then there's this touching music, like it's supposed to be a touching moment. Like, what do you mean? The princess is taken from the palace at the end. I don't understand. How will 4 random men walk in your kingdom, kill like 5 people, including one of your most powerful chiefs, who up till this point you didn't even know anything was wrong with, come into your palace? You let them come in willingly. Your guards are just chilling, vibing, while 4 men are there threatening the king, and then they take the princess. I don't know what is happening. And so my bad is really that I'm confused. I was confused going into episode 6. I'm confused now that it's over. I don't know at any point what is happening in this movie. I don't know why did Basharu looking for Adegun, which just disappears at some point in the movie, and then he kills Adegun's whole family. Like, what was the point of any of these stories that were set up? At some point, we hear these 2 women discussing how all the money they get from Arolake eventually leads them to like doom, disaster, whatever. One woman even talks about how she's saving up all the money her daughter is making from working for her so she can pay her back and then it just gets lost in the story. It doesn't get mentioned again ever. It has no bearing to the story. People still go to her for money. Like, I'm going insane. I'm going insane.
Yeah.
Omaumi doesn't make sense. Does she love that guy? Does she love the new guy? We wake at some point in the end, she shows up in his room. I guess the romantic music is supposed to be that they hook up, or I don't know what happens there. Why did it happen? I I don't know. They keep, and then the end of season 6, they're like trying to force random romance in, and sadness with playing slow songs on scenes that don't even make sense. Like, why?
Right.
How did Akin and Latif team up? Okay, they met at the palace. And then what? How did he go and find Akin and tell him that she was in prison and then to release her? We don't know how anything is happening.
All right. Sorry, Taz. You're going to have to find
God.
healing in a little bit somewhere.
I just have to
No.
say though, when you mentioned the guards, I think every single guard in that palace should have been beheaded when the Ede people left. Every single
Just every god in the whole series, like
because all of our
no gods,
guards too were useless.
no gods.
Everybody can access her window to peep,
Yeah, like
and
people
they can all
just
just
sneak into her house and she's on the run, and I am very upset. Very upset.
yeah, all the guards.
If
All
there's
the
a
guards.
season
Behead them
3,
all.
good luck to you guys because I will not be here.
Neither will I.
Okay. All right. Alainka, please go on and
Yeah. So I differ in some of the things I hear. I differ to some of them actually. So I enjoyed this series actually. I enjoyed it. The main thing
Alainka, I like that you enjoyed it.
yes, the main
We
thing
will
the
have
main thing I
a
have with the
section.
story, the
Remember,
only main issue I have with the story is that it was,
sorry, Alainka, I just want to you go on to say your part, obviously, definitely. But I just want to, we'll have a pushback section. If you want to disagree with people, just hold fire for now, and we'll on the pushback on anything you want to disagree with other people. But I'm fine for you to give your thoughts.
okay. So I enjoyed it on the average. The main thing I have with it is the slow pace. At some point, it was slow. I think that's the main issue I have with it. So now, if you watch it with the eye of the modern, this is you are going to miss quite a whole lot of things. So if you do not watch it, if you watch it not understanding the culture, and actually, if you are not Yoruba one, or if you are Yoruba that doesn't understand the culture, yes, then I agree with you if you don't enjoy it. So, but if you understand the culture and then bearing in mind what it used to be in the olden days or whatever, where the thinking, the thought process, then you would agree that so it's that's just it. So for me, it was good. It was just that it was slow. That's the main thing. It was slow. That's the main thing there. So the motivations, yeah, there were also some. So there were some what's it called, diversions and motivation, like so the Saro character in the first part was greedy. It was what's the word to use now? It was what's that word now? So someone that wants to aggregate everything to themselves, like wants to it was con oh why is the English so why is the word off my head now? Um so it was greedy, and it was also very so he wanted to have everything to
Say
himself.
it in Yoruba. Just say in Yoruba, man.
Um no, that I do not I even the Yoruba word to use, I don't. So but it was I do not. Okay, so more like someone who wanted to have everything to himself, who was easily carried away with everything, something like that, and all of that. So
And it was also, of course, with women and all of that. But I think that at first it wasn't like that. So that needs to be understood. I think the main thing, if you watched the if you watched the very first part at first very well, you would see it that there was a transition between his character when he didn't have the power and when he had the power. So it's a dangerous power to have for anybody. That is it. Just like money, that kind of power that makes you rise up from the dead. And that was what Bashorun wanted to have. So that kind of power is very dangerous for anybody to have. So it can turn you to another thing entirely. And that was what happened. I think that also contributed to his downfall in the first one. So that was there. If you wanted to see it anyway, it was there. So in the first film,
Like, sorry, let me move on to someone else. Will come back to you? Just time is up for you speaking. So there's some people have been waiting for a bit who haven't actually spoken, and we'll go to Batman T in a minute. But let's just have Lady Montgreen. Lady Montgreen.
Oh, hi. So, can you hear me?
Yes.
So I know you said there's a section where you can do rebuttals, but I just want to try and put some things into perspective for some people who have commented, especially the one that was saying the elderly woman who Saro had raised before and who saw him and was now eating and saying she didn't want to die. Life was sweet. It was just being like a tool that was used to help us understand what was happening. Other people hadn't seen Saru, but it was just allowing us to see that she could see Saru and probably people he had called back. All of these things are just elements that were used. And I think Olayinka was the person that said, if you put Yoruba into context, you would understand it better. Basically, I'm surprised that a lot of people were saying, oh, why did they give Arolake money? Why was she blessed? How many people do you look at and say, okay, because they did 1 + 1 + 1 + 5 is equals to 10. That's why they have, in quote, blessings and wealth. You see, so that's, for me, that's where I'm coming from. And I quite like the series because it seemed rather tidy. I liked how we didn't have those usual Nollywood flashbacks, and everything was like spliced so well that you wouldn't have realized that a long time had passed between the flashback scenes, and the continuity was great. But I will still come back for rebuttals. Please, allow me talk. Oh, thank you, sir.
We will. Do not worry.
No, we'll let you speak.
All right. And just a reminder, this is not the pushback section. Let us close out our goods and then get into the pushback. Our bads, sorry.
Right, okay.
And then get into the pushback section.
I think we can close out the bad.
I'm not finished too.
Oh yeah, sorry. Okay.
So
all right.
you said I could go next.
Yeah.
Batman,
is it still bad or is it a rebuttal?
No, it's not a rebuttal. It's just further to what I said before. And, whilst I was listening to other people, certain things came to me. I think it's important to know. I think the niqab that she wore was supposed to give us sort of like a breadcrumb to her link to Ede. Niqab being a Muslim attire, she's meant to have something to do with the pushback of Ede, right? So I'm giving the director credit and I'm picking up the breadcrumbs as a Game of Thrones fan rather. Bacheron, if you remember the conversation he was having with the owl guy, he said Bacheron is also a descendant of the throne. So he's a low-key rival of the king, and that rivalry is bubbling under. I predict what's going to happen is that his son is going to end up being the king. And why? Because his son is also from the royal lineage. So they're setting that up nicely. If you sort of pay attention to that, that's bubbling under. Also, another thing is the way they juxtaposed when Arolake got money and power versus when Saro got money and power. When she got money and power, she got altruistic. She wanted to help people. She was not trying to gather power for her own means and means alone. You juxtapose that with the way Saro behaved when he got the power of Aiku. He wanted everything for himself. She was reaching outside of herself with her power and her favor. He was looking inside himself. So I think that's also credit to the director for doing that. I don't know if that got over some people's heads. I believe she's got one more power to attain, and then everything else will unfold. Also, I just wanted to know why the ghost did not remind what's his face of the 17 other bodies or the other Aiku that he made before they ascended to heaven or to hell, wherever it is that they're going, you know. Also, the ayo rather, I'm so sorry, oh my Yoruba, I butcher it sometimes. The ayo was meant to represent, again looking at it from a Game of Thrones perspective, was meant to represent the palace intrigues, because if you think of it, the ayo was only ever played with 2 players when they were on palace grounds, so we're supposed to look at that as representing the power play, the intrigues happening in the palace, because it's sort of like Iyije, Eyoje, your move, my move, and that's essentially what was meant to be going on in the palace at the time. So that's, to me, that's the eye we were supposed to look at the playing of the Ayo as. The Ayo came to represent not just the game, but what was going on all around. And if you look at the 2 characters that played the Ayo with Basharun's son, it was the bride to be Omomi, and it was also what's his name, Arolake's friend. Those 2 were pivotal characters who were central to the intrigues that happened in the series as a whole. So I think that some of the things they did well, and some of the things you have to look at more than the eye, as in you have to sort of look at them on a bigger scale, on a bigger level, and see that they're breadcrumbs to what's happening. And some of the issues were allegorical, so they represented more than the eye, the immediate eye could see. So I'm giving the director some credit for those things, but I think the niqab, I don't think it should go over our heads. I think given that you know that the people of Ede, there's an advancement of of the Fulani warriors into Yoruba land, and they're currently at Ede, and they will inevitably move into Oyo because Oyo collapsed so easily when they came in. So that also heightens that in the Camp Wars heightens for the viewer, or should heighten for the viewer, Arolhe's importance and her link between Oyo and Ede. So I thought that was important to say. And lastly, I don't think it has anything with understanding Yoruba on a level, because this is a fiction. This is fictional Yoruba, completely fictional Yoruba history, fictional everything. So I don't think you need to be able to speak Yoruba to be able to pick up on these things. I push back on that strongly. I'm a Yoruba woman, and I still have some of the objections that a lot of people raised. Yeah.
All right, sneaking in a pushback there. I see you, Batman. See, all right, okay. I think is there any?
So we can move on.
Right.
I see a lot of hands. We'll pull you into pushback.
A bunch of these people have said some things. Rotimi might also have something to say. I saw his hand go up. If it's maybe Nollywood must change. Do you want to say yours, or do you want to wait for?
Okay, Rotimi is not here, right? Okay, let me.
Hey, calm down. Let's see.
I'm gonna say mine, and then they can say theirs, and then we'll move on. All right.
In case you know.
I had not finished talking about. Mute this man. I had not finished talking about motivation. Sorry, I'm going to take out my annoyance with Kunle on anybody else this evening. I hadn't finished my complaints about motivations before I got really cut off by my own timer. But again, everybody's motivations went one kind. So the Akala Bird's motivations, also, the Akala Bird was forgotten, right? We see the Akala Bird in the trailer. If our priest comes with, the Akala Bird is angry with us and these terrible things have been happening. I think Oyinkan touched on, like, they mentioned a few things that these just sound like BAU deaths to the village, right? Palm tree fell on somebody. These are standard stuff. You call 4 people that have died. I see nothing of the Akala Bird's wrath. There is no urgency to getting Arolake back to this village to do sacrifices to avert the wrath of the Akala Bird, because everybody in this village seems to be surviving and thriving. So what is going on? Where is that? And when Arolake does come back to the village, right, the Ifa priest suddenly is on looking. Right? She's about to be killed, but he's been like, we need to find Arolake because, we're supposed to do sacrifices and cleanse the land. But he's like, well, whoops, I guess Basharun is going to kill her, right? Then again, Basharun, what are his motivations? Everyone has thought Game of Thrones is trying to get to the throne. It doesn't feel like it, right? At the start, yes, he's plotting this political marriage, cool. But at some point, he seems to be openly antagonizing the king. Again, this is the bloody king, right? Everybody seems to have a lack of understanding of the hierarchies, right, going on in this kingdom. The others don't seem to rate the Basharun, right? The other chiefs don't seem to be according the Basharun the respect they're supposed to be according him. The Basharun doesn't seem to be according the king any respect. And what is going on? What is happening? Why are we doing this? What incentivizes the Basharun to try and find Saro? When does his beef with Arolake start? Okay, he starts looking for Saro. He wants to raise the dead, whatever. What? 1 minute he wants Arolake dead, and we never know why. We never see why. We never see anything incentivizing him. And I think and I have to say, this is a main problem that I think happened in the making of this film is everybody forgot to ask why. Everybody refused to ask why. They put in the plot points, but they don't ask why. Why is this character doing this? Vibes. Why is this character doing this? Vibes. They're just doing it. Like our guy says, so the movie can happen. A fundamental lack of why. And it was clear in everything that happened. And that's why the 6 hours dragged so much. Also, there seemed to be no understanding of who these characters were. We don't know who Saro is as a person. Absolutely no idea who Saro is and that's why we don't know why he does the things he does, right? Then the timeline. I was so stressed out. I was so stressed. The timeline stressed me out because where we left these people in part 1, I could have sworn Arolake was old. She had aged. Why are we back here with young woman? They literally called her young woman, but they had aged. But Saro is suddenly 30 years old. But how long did they spend in that village? But 3 years ago when we were looking for them, they could have committed to a timeline, right? But there was a choice not to. And it's clear that this happened because, let me not say because, right? It's kind of clear that this sequel, it doesn't seem like the idea of a sequel was conceptualized when the first one was being made, right? Because they want Saro to be 30 years old. Saro is 30 years old. We wouldn't have ended with them with so much time having passed, with them being aged at the end of that, if we knew we were going to have another sequel with Saro being 30 years old. But now we've retconned it and we don't know how to make it work, so we have gone, whatever, it happened. But that timeline was very confusing and very annoying. Then I have to just mention, how many sex scenes did we have in this? Was it 2 sex scenes?
Oh, I forgot to
or 2 or 3. Yeah, you didn't talk about it. Oh, questionable.
Yes.
Questionable.
I predicted this correctly.
Questionable because it seems the intent was for them to be consensual, but it did not seem that way. It did not seem that way. It wasn't even shot in a stop it, I like it way until we get. Yes. Have I said I didn't like this film?
All right. Okay. All right. Thanks, Mrs. C. We'll take Rotimi and Nollywood Must Change, and then we'll go into pushbacks.
Can I join my pushback to the extra bad?
No.
I agree with Vanessa there. Just if you want to do pushback, I can have you. I can have you second on the list, and then you can join. You can join them both there if you want.
Okay. Okay. No, I'll just go with my bad. I'll go with my bad from now. There's Adedimeji's character. I just want to. Okay, so let me join this as part of my bad. There's a problem in the way we depict fighting, and this is almost going to. This also extends to the general this Yoruba epic things that we're trying to. That is in vogue right now. Yoruba epics are in vogue right now. Somebody said when the trailer came out that they thought this was Jagun Jagun Part 2. And it was like literally you have Adedimeji again in a duel with somebody in the middle of a courtyard. So you can say that like kind of the overlay of like these things kind of their scenes and things are repeating themselves. Then there was one thing that was funny for me, just like in that duel with Adedimeji and the prince from the other town. Sorry, I missed his name. Bashawan had already given him the powder to cheat with, like to spray it on the guy, then he will have an easy victory. He doesn't use the powder. This guy is clearly beating him. Then he brings the powder out and throws the powder on the ground like, okay, that's clearly, I am not going to cheat. Now he starts getting the upper hand in the fights. I don't know why he ran away when he got the upper hand. it just kind of like, okay, now you're getting the upper hand. This is the girl you love. So win her heart now, you understand, you have to defeat this guy. Then you start beating the guy, then you run away. And I'm like, okay, why did this guy run? But I think like I'm struggling because the idea of like Yoruba epics, they work because there's, like somebody rightly said, there's already a ready-made audience for it. But this is the thing, audiences are growing and advances. And I'm saying this because I don't want to join it like say I was talking about my pushback. But anybody says that we don't understand Yoruba films, look, bro, I'm sorry, it's not possible. I watched Oluwanile, I watched Saro, I watched this thing, Magun. I understand how your Yoruba film can work and still make sense dramatically. If I question something dramatically, it's still there are questions here dramatically about why this thing doesn't work in some aspects. It does not mean that Yoruba culture works as a premise to make a movie with. That whole premise of the old, and I think as somebody was mentioning about like the way the Oyo Empire was depicted, and I'm like, this is like I'm in two halves because I know that it's not the grandeur, the full grandeur of what the Oyo Empire is, but it's like they are trying to make a fiction and they are limited, and this is that working of there's a lot of resources here, but there are also not enough resources to depict the Oyo Empire the way it was historically, if I'm making any sense. So yeah, I'll come back for my pushback.
All right, thanks, Rotimi. And Nollywood must change.
Okay, since I'm the last on the line, and the pushback is starting right next after me, so I'm starting the pushback. That's what I'm gonna do.
No.
Yes.
No. There's one more. There's one more bad. There's one more bad to be read. We haven't read A Day's Bad.
Yeah, we are going to read that after you. Let me start my pushback. So
you forget to have mute button. You're not serious. Mrs. C, come and read A Day's Bad.
Okay. A Day's Bad. That beard given to the Ifa priest wasn't it at all. The actor playing the priest also lacks the mannerisms of an aged Ifa priest with wisdom, who should pick his words, find adequate pauses, and not just have a certain presence when he steps in. If you wanted Peter Fatomilola, you should have just gotten the man. That's if he's still acting, highly doubtful. The way time passes isn't done well, thank you. Really annoying. We're only constantly told how much time has passed, but we don't feel it. Time passage could have been done with an annual festival or some sort of something that takes place at an interval, for example. The designer of the opening credits sequence had just one job, which is to make the names of the actors be in sync with their faces. I know that wasn't the goal, but it would have been better. Most especially push the actors' faces and likenesses further with those not familiar with them. It was weirdly done. It was weirdly done. And you just wonder why their names weren't designed to be in sync with the images. The cinematography fails a lot of what should be iconic scenes. What happens if Farolake doesn't return? They claim that the Akala is angry and killing people and causing some bad events in the village, but we don't see it or feel it. We are only told. The village even seems to be flourishing. We don't see dry farmlands. We don't see mourning families. We're only told people are dying because of the Akala's anger. The writing hasn't been engineered to channel any reasonable stakes, and it's starting to be a thing these days whereby you're only watching because of loyalty to Nollywood or a task at hand, not because you're intrigued or sucked into the world. The chief priest says to Basharin in episode 5, few weeks you were away, a lot of things happened and were disjointed. But we as viewers didn't see them happening or the effects. Everyone is jolly and happy. Maybe we needed a character or a group of character who gives us the perspective from the commoners. Everything we saw in Oyo was the perspective of royalty and the king's circle. The last episode had too many events and was rushed after nothing happened in the middle. I think we're really skipping a crucial stage or multiple stages to be attempting a project like this. There's a lot of work to be done to make this a better project. Can we maybe improve our stories on a smaller scale? I'm reading summary, but whatever. Question is not the what, but the how. We really need to improve how we are telling our stories and not what kind of stories we are telling.
All right. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. All right. I guess Nollywood must change. You can start the pushback.
Okay. I'm gonna start with someone saying that because you are Yoruba, that's why you don't understand most of these things. Sorry, please. You are wrong. Very, very wrong. Because I'm Yoruba and I watched this movie and there was nothing like cultural about this movie that makes any sense to the whole plot? Are you telling me that a random spirit coming to give you money is a Yoruba culture thing? Is that what you are saying? Because Awolake did not do anything. She didn't do anything. She didn't go to one river she didn't go to anywhere to sacrifice anything. In the main movie, she was the one who saw Akala. This one, she saw I don't know what they call them. I don't know I've forgotten what they call them in this spirit. Yeah, she saw some spirits and they give her money. So how is that cultural? Because if you have things like this in movies and you are using them to push move your plots, there should be reasons. Your characters need to do some things to get some things. So putting this on, is my phone there? Okay, my phone is still on, sorry. So putting this on, you don't understand Yoruba culture. That's why you're saying this. It's totally wrong. So I don't know. There are some other things that happen in this movie and they are not cultural, like Bashoro insulting the king. Is that cultural? I've never seen anywhere you say it's normal for Bashoro to insult the king yeah, they could beat the king because that is like it's a fiction. You must have a conflict, but it's not a Yoruba thing for Bashoro to have. Yes, how would I say it? Grudges with the king. It's not cultural, please. So put blaming the whole fault these stories are on people not being Yoruba people and they are trying to make petty race issues from this series is very wrong. Please, let's not do that. Sorry.
Okay. All right, thanks. Nothing wants to change. I want to give Olayinka the chance because, I think he might be the island here where, and he's had a lot of chances to hear a lot of points that people have said. So, Olayinka, if you have pushback for people, please go ahead.
Yes. So now the concept, I still maintain my stance that if you do not understand some aspects of Yoruba culture,
please don't maintain.
You will not understand some things that were depicted. So someone asked, for example, Bashoron. Now I'm going to start with Bashoron. If you know Bashoron Ga, the story of Bashoron Ga was with the king was in conflict. In fact, the character of Bashoron is actually just like Bashoron Ga of the Oyo Empire then. So Bashorons are usually very powerful people in the old Oyo Empire and all of that. So, and it depicted that perfectly. In fact, I give kudos to the actor, very good actor. So, and I think that's probably, for me, that is even probably one of those that made the story stand out and all that. Very good, depicted the Basharon character excellently. So, Basharons were powerful. They were like the prime minister then. So, it was, there was a story. I mean, there is usually a history of some of them disagreeing with the king. In fact, the particular about Ruga, sometimes they would the king will just leave them to do some certain things. It's not that the king will conflict with the king. Because of the fact that
Nollywood must change. Don't make me mute you, please. Allow him speak. Go on. Sorry, allowing him.
So you don't. I don't know why we are not fighting. It's a review. It's a movie review and all of that. I don't understand the. So now the thing is, Basharuns were very powerful. Then, if you know this, you can Google Basharun. In fact, there's a proverb about him. He was very wicked, very powerful, very the king. Even he and the king had issues and all that. And then Basharuns were usually very powerful in the old Oyo then. So that was in very, very, tandem. It was in tandem with what Basharun is like. Very, very much. Again, another reason I said if you don't understand what now we were told then, now people were more trusting in those days. They were more the way they lived. So the stories that we heard. So we should not look at their character in the way, and that's part of what I was saying, in the way we look at characters of now. The way, in fact, we're told that you could practically leave something in the streets, and then you were selling something you didn't need to be there. So someone would just put the money there, and they would take their wares and then they'll put the money, you meet it there and all of that. So they were more trusting. People had not developed so much of the instincts that we have now and all of that. So that was also very, very, so some of the characters that you see them depict, it was also in line with that kind of way, Again, someone said, what's the motivation for coming back and all that, for killing, and all of that. It was, in the Yoruba culture believed in three, what's it called? I don't believe it anyway. I am a Muslim. I don't believe that. So, but they believe that there are three worlds. So there is a world of the living, there's a world of the dead, and then there's a world that was the same issue some people had with Les Champa and all of that movie. So there's also the world where people wander. So there was a world in between the two, where people would wander because of certain things that they had. Maybe they had a debt to pay, and then they have to come back to fulfill it. And that's why some people say Akudaya and all that. Some people live and die and come back. So, and then in the case of the king, maybe if he had not been, those that had, what's it called? Abobakus then, where the person that would die with the king if he has not been buried, so he will still be wandering in that world. So that world has that kind of thing where people who are transition, and then anybody that is in that world will be restless and all of that. So they would be, so they will be restless until they fulfill that thing that they're supposed to fulfill before they now go back. So that's the belief of the Yorubas. So, and it was well depicted there too. So the people who followed Saro. So what's the Saro, when they go to the heaven, because he had debts to pay. That was why he was sent back. That now those people that you have to wake them up. And you have to pay them again. Just but there's no time, no problem. So because people were saying why, I don't know why what whys were, because they were staring us in the face. The whys that you were looking, they were actually staring in the face.
Alainka, hang on. I want to actually help you address the pushbacks, because all I've heard is sort of explaining the law and like what's certain. I would say you pick a particular point that somebody said and you address that. I think that's what helps. So like, and I've seen this. So Babatunde as well made a comment saying that, that some people may be articulate, but we have but no knowledge of Yoruba mysticism. Being poorly paced doesn't have anything to do with Yoruba mysticism. Not having good character motivation is not. Except if you're addressing something in particular somebody said, but most of the criticism that's come has been poor character motivation, things happening out of nowhere, and poorly paced. So yeah, I've
actually addressed some of the character motivations where I said Saro coming back now was because the motivation for Saro in this particular scene was that he had to, his greed was also there. So now he was back to his usual self, where he was
Sorry, Alainka. So when people have said, I'm using character motivation as an umbrella term for some specific things that people have mentioned. So like when people say, what is, what some people have made the more specific thing about Saro's thing was, so what is he doing? What's his, why does he want to live? What does he want to, because like, it just seems like he comes back to meet a woman. He cheats death to just meet a woman and just make palm wine and like have a life.
And again, he doesn't come back planning to cheat death.
Yes.
It just falls into his lap. He's here to take his next victim, and she's like, and then, oh, I can make you live.
Yeah. And then I really like it, like the, she decides that she wants to go back to the palace. Why? Despite having run away from there in the first place.
And having endless resources to be able to.
Anyway, it's very obvious that even from the first this thing, she actually is just like, I'm sorry to this thing. So just like
motivation is she's stupid.
She's someone who doesn't know what she wants, who is always, even from the very first this thing. So she jumped on Saro just like that. She just saw something this thing. So now she has tasted the other side, and found out that there is no listing there and wants to go back to what she was there. If you actually agree with me, so it happens with, even in real life, it happens where some people just don't know what they want. They see the other side as green, they
Can
taste
I
it,
ask you a
and they see that
question?
there's nothing there, and they want to go
What
back
is the other
to
side that she tasted?
what they were before.
What is the
What?
other side that she tasted and didn't like? Because she's coming from a position where she was one in the palace and not treated well, didn't like the king, and then left to be with Saro, who also maltreated her. And then she meets Akin, who is good to her. She has money. She has a house that is like wonderful. She has the affection of the people. What is the reason to go into the
Now the thing
palace?
is that now the thing is she has found out that she 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 was now in the palace. Remember that the king loved her and all of that. The king loved her. The other people were not treating her well. Yes, the queen were not, but she has now found out that that love is actually the supreme thing
Akin loves
for
her.
her, and that was what she was wanting. So she wanted the king's this thing back.
Akin
She still
loves
loved the
her
king. She
and she
wanted
loves
him back.
Akin. She doesn't
What?
even like the king. Akin loves her.
She doesn't love Akin. That's just the truth. She doesn't trust Akin. She sees Akin as someone as Saru. And that is why she actually held back the story of, how she got the money
But
when
it's
she
just
wanted
the
At
to
that
king.
pay the
point, though,
thing
she had
and
just
all of that.
met
So
the
she saw
man.
Akin like
But
as someone as Saru. So she wanted love. That was it. Love was
Sorry, but
just the
that doesn't make
motivation for
sense.
her.
That
She
not that
wanted the
answers
wanted
all
the
to
right.
go
question.
Okay.
back
That
to
doesn't
the
make any
king.
sense.
Okay, let me,
Okay.
but you
All right.
see, well,
Okay.
but I have seen people who behave like that actually. So they go back, they go out, go and do whatever they want to do. In fact, they even have money and all that. They found out that they leave the husband, they come back. So that's, yes, I've seen that
That's
happen.
usually after you've
And they see that, oh,
suffered. She hasn't suffered anything.
Okay.
She's
All
in
right.
what?
enjoyment.
Sorry.
So now she has
Allowing.
seen that
All right.
the love of the king is supreme for her. So
Yeah. All
beyond
right.
every other thing and all
Okay.
of that. So for her, she flashed back and saw that this king actually really loved me. She even said it in the first this thing that in the palace I was the king's favorite
All right.
and
Allowing.
all
All
of
right. All right.
that.
Okay.
And all.
Okay. You've
So
made.
it's there for me. It's there. I
Okay.
agree that there were some gaps in the story. Yes, but some
Okay.
of the things that people
Progress.
are people putting up here, I don't agree with some of them.
Okay.
Sorry.
All right.
So that's
Okay.
me.
No problem. The thing is like, because I think when we decided try to narrow it down to a specific pushback, I think we can now at least understand your position. All right, Otas, please go on.
Yeah, so my pushback is primarily two things. One, it feels like Badman tea, sort of, and it feels like that thing where you look at words all jumbled up and your brain just makes it right into the word that you think it is, just because that's how your brains function. And that's what it feels like was happening in that second bad pushback section there, where you are willing to not just filling the blank, but also create new storylines and pathways for the story to make sense so it makes sense. Which is okay, but I don't see where you get most of the things from in this movie. That's one. Two is also similar to what Nollywood said about needing to be you're about to understand something, but primarily because most of us, in fact, me specifically, I watch Asian movies, I watch German movies, I watch a ton of movies from different cultures that I don't know almost anything about. Some of them are in the present, some of them are even in the future, some of them are in the past. Overwhelmingly, if the story makes sense, the story makes sense. It doesn't matter what culture the story is coming from. And if you're making a movie that needs to be understood by Yoruba people or people who have a vast knowledge of Yoruba culture, then maybe that should be in the caption somewhere with a link to all the Yoruba culture I need to consume to understand it. Otherwise, what is the point of putting it for public viewing if 99%, because this is out in Netflix, it's the whole world, it's not even just Nigeria. And if we like the span of what Netflix consumers is, I don't know what percentage of that is Yoruba. I know it's not 100%. I doubt it's even 20%.
And so if you are putting out a movie where a vast majority of your audience that's going to watch it, that you want to watch it, needs specific cultural context to understand, you're either providing that context or you have made a bad film. It's really as simple as that. There is no reason you need to be a specific culture to follow a movie that is like, it just doesn't add up and it doesn't make sense. There's no folklore,
Yeah.
for instance, where gods randomly give you wealth for fun without any consequences or any other reason behind it. And you mentioned earlier that, oh, if you if you know Yoruba mythology, why she gets wealth makes sense, but it doesn't. Like, I'm from Benin City, and while Benin City, it just states mythology and Yoruba is not the same thing. There are generally a lot of similarities between all the folklore in Nigeria, as far as you get wealth for no reason, there is a consequence, or you have earned it in some way. How has she earned anything? But that is generally my pushback.
All right. Thanks, Atas. I also add that this Anikulapo is this series is There's a audio dubbing in Yoruba, in English, Portuguese, French, Spanish, and Spanish. So I mean, like, if you just want Yoruba people to watch it, he's not really doing it right, is he? Okay. All right. Oyinka, did you have pushback you wanted to do?
Yes. Osas took one of my pushbacks, but she said it in a different way. But okay. Omo, you're banning me. But that's not where I'm going to stand. I'm going to say it's the Yoruba state. The thing that connects all the Yoruba together is Ede Yoruba. And there was the Yoruba state wars. A lot of the Yoruba states fought each other. They have different type of culture or something, different type of story something, and a common thing. But none of so what may be culturally, just because you can't just say Yoruba, because Yoruba, no, they're different. They're different Yoruba peoples. They come from different something, and there's a lot of the Yoruba states went to war with each other. And Oyo also, yeah, different has different thing. That's the thing about humanity. What's the thing? I do want to say something. Yes, indication of like the Bashoro talking to the king like that. Usually, that indicates something. It often puts that in that the person who actually has the political power in that situation is usually not necessarily the king, but instead the prime minister. And that is not, you don't have to be Yoruba to understand that, because if you watch Korean historical dramas, there's something called the left state minister. That's the prime minister. Even if you do England, I'm not English. I don't think I have any blood of an English. The prime minister, literally with King George, literally because King George was mad and he was also German. Was he King? Yeah. Was also German and like didn't really understand something. That's how the prime minister was able to get a lot more power that now you see the prime minister of something has. It kind of starts a lot of that. There's a lot of fights for that. Even Native American history too. The Aztecs too. They also all that. You just have to be human being in a human culture, because almost all human cultures and human things are almost similar. There's nothing really like, sure, the dressing is different. But the basics usually are the same. And you usually deal with material culture. So I get what you're saying. I get the thing about the three lands and the river Styx just not necessarily being the, and like Yoruba mythology of like the underworld is kind of the same thing as the Greeks mythology of the underworld. You don't have to specifically be something. And even within Yoruba too, there's different cultures within Yoruba. So I understand what you're saying. And I think you also mentioned that it went slow the last time we talked. You also gave it that it went slow. You like it. You see something in it. It's okay. Other people, I'm not going to say I didn't like it. It was nice, but I feel like that it could have been done better. So I think what people are pushing back against is the idea that only Yoruba people will understand it. And I think what she's trying to say is that there are some aspects of the thing that Yoruba people will know because it's their culture. But most Yoruba, by this movie and we saw Orisha, Yoruba anyhow, and the person speaks better Yoruba than me. He made Orisha. Orisha has nothing to do with culture. Orisha is one man's ego. And a lot of our movies, they have nothing to do with like culture back then. Like what? Like how is this historically something back then? How do you think? And also, I came here to do a pushback for olden day people, for people from the past. People from the past are not stupid, and like the idea that people in the past, like it used to be easier back then. No, there were thieves back then, as there were thieves right now. You don't leave your stuff out anyhow. They say that you can, but the reality of it is the reality of it. And we tend to think that the past people are like dumber and like they no. If you look the real history very well, nah, human being don't change that much. You leave something there. Crime of opportunity is crime of opportunity. Even in the animal world, theirs don't eat. Theirs are herbivores, but if they are very starving, they will eat. They will be cannibals. So I'm just telling you. So that's my pushback.
Right.
Fight for the past for our past people. They're not stupid.
All right, thanks, Ink. All right, Nollywood must change.
Okay. Oh, sorry. I thought you called Rotimi. So, but my own pushback is still that someone saying you don't understand because we are not Yoruba or that. I think the person doesn't get that. We are talking about what?
Say I've done that one now. Everybody has taken turns.
Well, let me explain to him. I want to make a reference. In saying that he made reference to Bashorunga. If you actually watch Bashorunga, you know that Bashorunga had a reason, had a motivation to do what he did. Bashorun are supposed to be prime ministers, more like prime ministers. So the Bashorun we have in Anikulapo is at war with the king, not necessarily at war, but he doesn't like the king. But we don't know the motivation. That's what we are saying. But you are saying because we are not Yoruba, that's why we don't understand what's going on. Okay, what's the motivation for him being at war with the king? So the way we make excuses for movies really affects the industry, that people keep making the same mistake. We don't know to this podcast, and they will learn from it that okay, a character must have a motivation for doing this, for doing that. It would help a lot of people in the future. So we don't let us make excuses for everything. Because I'm friends with the filmmaker, I'll come here and say, oh, you don't understand Yoruba, you don't understand English. That's why you are making these points. Please let us do that. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Nollywood must change. Judging by this version, nobody is listening. Nobody important is listening to our spaces. Judging by this series. All right. Rotimi, do you want to? Did you want to say something?
Yeah. So it's just one specific thing that Mrs. C said. I don't know, like maybe in the process, I know she really does not like this movie, but I just want to specifically, she said something about like, I don't know, about Basharon not having motivations. Why was he looking for Saro and Aolanke? So I just wanted to get back on that. It's not really anything. Is that Saro, he wanted the power of raising people for the dead, because he said that if he has his army, if he went to war with his army and his army died, he will be able to raise them again back for the dead. So I thought, okay, that makes sense. If he went to war with anybody and his army got killed, he'll be able to raise his army over and over and over again until he defeats his enemies. That made sense. Then Awolanke, Baba Ifa, when he was having a discussion with him, was like, this told him about what happened as part of the bird and everything that because Awolanke took the power, that's why the bird was still going to bring doom and damnation to the village and everything. And the king had not been doing anything about it. So by the time he found out that the king had been meeting Awolanke in secret, it was not like, okay, this was I think that there was a ploy or a plan by Basharon, maybe down the line, to probably seize power from the king. And it was going to like kill Awolanke and everybody, to be like, okay, I'm the one that saved you from this girl that committed this sacrilege against the bed of death and everything. So I have more. The king knew about her and he didn't do anything. I am the guy that's here to save you. That was for me. But what he said enough about the whole thing about people's motivation that if we're not Yoruba to understand the story. I just think there was a comment. I wish I bookmarked it. Somebody made a review long earlier, like yesterday, and I read it. And this was down to the filmmaker about Kunle. And he said that Kunle is a better businessman than a creative. And I'm like, I look at the whole production. This is why everybody says that there's something I like about it. And I mean that there are aspects of it in terms of the production. Putting all this together is a lot of work. It's a lot of work. And I have to respect that. But I think that that's also still the problem. It's every single time when I see anything that's done in Nollywood that is trying to aim for something huge or something big or something epic, something will go wrong with the story because we're trying to do something big to wow people. And I'm like, a lot of movies I like that I comment on are like, they are smaller movies. And not because the movies are perfect, but I'm like, at least I can understand what's happening within this A to B. The moment we want to expand to A, B, D, and C, E, E, the whole structure, because stories have structure and how everything ties together, starts to fall apart. And it's part of our things of when we're trying to do things big. And I'm not saying that people shouldn't do things big. They have to do things big. That's part of their leverage within the industry. But I feel like the business is overtaking this whole creative side. And I'm still like, we're here discussing this movie. I will not discuss a movie I don't like. I will not even comment about a movie I don't like. So there's something I like about Anikulapo. But it goes into that whole thing that once people view it, it gets to number one. We're watching it because we're interested. I've not watched Avatar. I've not watched Blood and Water. I watched Anikulapo from 1 to 6 because it's interesting to me to see stories about a place from Nigeria, from the Yoruba culture. It's not about that. I don't have a problem with Yoruba culture. Yoruba culture is why I'm watching it, because I would like to see great stories about that. But stories that have a problem with tough stories, story has a problem. It has nothing to do with the culture. We love culture. That's why we're watching it. So yeah, that's it.
All right. Okay.
I'm sorry. I would like to address the misconception from what I've said.
Okay, hang on, Alain.
So,
hang on. Alain, hang on, please. I'll bring you in a bit. There's a why talk about this movie if we don't like it thing. That's not how this works. Apart from like scheduling stuff for people to be able to watch, it's talking. We can't just go about talking about just the things we like. If not, we will not have Nollywood movies to watch. And by whose standard as well. The point of Nollywood Film Club is just to discuss movies and hear from everybody's perspectives. That's it. There's no need to plant any other agenda onto it. That's it. We come here and we discuss movies. And hopefully we have an interesting discussion. Anyway, but that's for me. I think Mr. C has pushback to your pushback about Aralake, because I think there's something.
Yeah, there was something.
The king when he, I think Rotimi's thing was like,
he goes to look for Aralake because of the Ifa priest wanting, and then he sees her with the king. He wants Aralake dead.
Yeah.
Right? And so his motivation for finding Aralake cannot be because the Ifa priest said she was needed back in the land. Right? The Ifa priest wanted her back in the land because according to his divination, she needed to come back and then they needed to do some rituals. The Ifa priest categorically said she was not to die.
Yeah.
She just needed to be in the village and then they needed to do some rituals. The Ifa priest was disapproving of Arolake's murder. So again, they made a point of it. And then he even said it later. And he said Basharon was just trying to sow discord in the land. Right? He said it. They made a point of it. It's just why? Why at this point does he want Arolake dead? There's no motivation to kill her. Leverage to the king, sure, whatever, but he just wants to kill her. And the king, lily-livered, spineless, knotless person that he is, says absolutely nothing and lets the Basharon run roughshod over him and the village.
Right. Okay. Badman T, have your hand up.
Yeah, I just wanted somebody reference the earlier points that I made, and I just want to push back against it. I think it's one thing to say the film or the series rather, because we're not talking about the film, we're talking about the series. This series was bad. It's another thing to assume that the writers or the makers of the film were not smart enough to leave Easter eggs all over the film. I think that would be doing ourselves as Nollywood watchers and lovers and Nigerians who make films and what a disservice, right? So I think for some people it's a bit of a stretch to imagine that Kunle Afolayan could have left Easter eggs in the series. I watched Game of Thrones. Not everything that later connected to everything was said. Things were shown and you had to remember the things that were shown. And even worse, if you read the books, it would be a one-liner that eventually gives you an insight into the battle. Nobody told us that Mance Raider was sort of a glamored to become a rattle shirt. It was after we saw what was happening in Winterfell that you sort of added twos, right? Nobody has to tell you that her choosing to wear niqab as a disguise and an impending Islamic invasion are somehow artistically connected. Like, if you don't draw that conclusion, that's on you, that's fine. Nobody for me also had to tell me that the Ayo playing in the palace specifically represented the intrigues in the palace, the power play going on. Further, everybody's asking what Bashir's motivations were. Bashir doesn't give a fuck about his son's wishes. Why was he hell bent on the marriage? And why was the conversation from the Ifa priest to Bashir? Why did it highlight the fact that Bashir actually also comes from Oriade? Why did they highlight that conversation? If you add that to the fact that he's so intrigued by the marriage, to me, there's a clear picture being drawn. Whether it was executed properly is another thing. But that conversation had some kind of import. And I think I held on to it and I'm waiting to see what unfolds in the next season. But there's one thing I want to say. Of all the criticisms of this series, and I think they're all valid, the one thing that irritated me the most is the lack of excellence with the props, right? The set design. Like the bed was leaning, the gates were poorly constructed. Like the lions look so sad and hungry. The lions next to the king, they look so sad and hungry. I didn't understand why the artisanship was so poor. Like it was clearly he had a bigger budget than most, and the fact that these things weren't properly executed really drove me nuts. The whole world is going to see this, and I didn't think that was a good representation of artisanship, Nigerian artisanship. So it really did irritate me. And finally, let's stop mistaking or your culture or your history for Yoruba history, Yoruba culture. The Oyo are a specific people. They are not all of Yoruba. So of even most Yoruba people don't know Oyo culture or your history. So don't assume that because somebody is Yoruba, they will automatically somehow like Tara magic understand some of the intrigues that are not clearly explained. This is specifically Oyo culture. In fact, the idea of Yoruba as one people was not really very strong during these times. And also the use of certain words like Wahala and Ashiri, like it irritated me because Wahala was not in our lexicon at that time, nor was the word Ashiri either. These are words that came with the advent of Islam in Yoruba culture and the increasing trade between what we now call the Yoruba people and the Muslim world. So these two words being in the film also irritated me. It showed like an oversight that was unnecessary. But yeah, I just wanted to push back against my point. If you don't see it, that's fine. But I saw it, and yeah.
I also watched Game of Thrones 2 or 3 times, and Easter eggs is basically just guesswork because there are lots of other things that were set up in Game of Thrones that went nowhere or that seemed like Easter
The
eggs that would be
book,
important
the
later,
books, the
but were
books.
important based on how the story ended up resolving itself. So when you're picking up random things that you see in Easter eggs in a story so poorly written, it feels like filling the blanks. That is not your take on what you choose to take from it. It just feels like filling the blanks. I cannot trust a writer who cannot write a coherent story, even continuing characters from a previous movie that is already established, even as simple as timeline, continuing a timeline that is already established, which is probably one of the easier things to do. There's no way to believe that he is dropping Easter eggs that are so relevant they need to be remembered later when he cannot connect his timeline together. It's just unrealistic.
Here,
Okay,
here.
so I want.
I mean,
Okay.
All right. Okay. So, Alainka, all right. We'll hear from you, and we'll see if there's anything else, and then we'll start looking to do summaries.
Now, I want to, so that I don't forget, I want to start with the timeline thing. So now, in the very first series, I mean, the film, Arulake did not get old by age. I mean, by through age, she got old from suffering, and it actually was. I got that even from the movie. It was the intention to portray her as someone who was suffering and all that. So, and that was why she looked age. I mean, she looked, and it happens to people when they are going through quite a whole lot and all of that. She was stressed. It wasn't that she aged. No, she did not age in the movie and all of that. She was going through stress and all that. Saro did not age, so I would this is so she was going through stress, a whole lot of it from Saro, from Saro's actions. I mean, the wives that he later had and all of that, and the fact that she was a queen from where she was coming, all those thoughts. She was going through a whole lot of listing, and that's why she aged in the movie then. So not that she got old, no. So that's one. Two, I did not say because I keep hearing this that because if you don't understand Yoruba, I said if you do not understand, you can be Yoruba, and if you are not Yoruba, you can be Yoruba and don't understand Yoruba culture. They are two different things. So a lot of people are up to if so. I maybe it would have been good if there are some films that I don't connect to very well to, and I remember that there was a film critic that I watched, an American who was reviewing a Nigerian movie. He was King of Boys then, and he said that because he doesn't understand Nigeria, it happens because he doesn't understand Nigerian nuances. There are some things
Yeah,
he's not
Alenka,
able to comment on.
Alenka, I'm going to interject
What?
because like I want you to be as focused as possible on the pushbacks. The pushback is what people have said in this instance is number. I think somebody mentioned Oyo culture specifically, and that's where it's not that I agree with any of this, but like if you want to push back on anything, please draw the specific criticism you're talking about, and so we know what you're addressing.
Okay. So the number one pushback was on the timeline that someone said. So I think I've already. I've through with that.
Okay, yeah.
So
by the way,
the second one.
Does that mean Aralake was like trekking in the bush for like 2 years? Was it 2 years?
It was 2 years. It seemed to be 2 to 3 years.
Yeah, close to 3 years. Yeah.
So because it was 3 years ago that she was allegedly dead. And by the way, I'm just going to say that Aralake was in the bush for 8
I'm still speaking.
and she looked younger. And she looked
Yeah,
younger.
she looked younger than when she was stressed.
Yeah.
Someone was working in the
So
bush
she
for
was
3 years.
stressed at that point. It's not that she was aged. I mean, it's not that she aged. She aged. That's what I'm
She
still
looked
saying.
better than the way she was stressed. Someone was working in the bush for 3 years.
All right. I mistaken little people. I didn't mean to do that.
Karen.
But yes, I did not. Allowing
Okay, so that's one. So then the second pushback was about the Yoruba thing that I said. So I also see that maybe quite a lot of people misunderstood what I said. Again, I don't know why. So I'm not saying if you are not Yoruba, you may be Yoruba and then you don't understand Yoruba culture too, and all of that, and then so you still fall into that. Listen, there are so many things that they depicted there. For example, I'll give you one again, where the person who did
Sorry, Alainka. Remember when I told you about being specific? Like a lot of the nobody has said I did not understand this because I'm not Yoruba, right? Nobody has said that. So like if you want to push back against anything, if you think somebody hasn't understood a particular thing, say what the person hasn't understood.
The reason I'm saying this is because people keep going back to that thing that I said about, and I did not say if you are not, I said if you do not understand the culture, so there are things you would miss. So another thing there was, for example, when this man died, where and the king was coming in, and all of that. So it's, for some people, they would not understand why the king was immediately guarded from seeing that. The king was immediately screened from seeing the corpse. So the thing is that if you are not, the king is not supposed to see a corpse and all of that. So some people may not understand that too. So there are many things that were there that some people would not like, what's this, So
But
it's
that's not even
normal
relevant to the
to happen,
story.
especially for the story like this. So, and I still maintain again, it's not like I'm trying to this thing. There are some films that I watch too that I would not understand some things that are there because I'm not, it is not my culture
Sorry,
and all of that. So that's, oh my, I don't understand why you
nobody
are
had a
trying
problem
to,
with.
I'm not making, I'm not making it look like this thing. I'm just saying what it is. It is art. So for me,
No, Alayinka, you're very much fine to just say you like this, and that's fine. The problem where people are going to have pushback is like you brought up the Yoruba thing. That's why people have pushed back against that in the
yeah.
first
So
place.
and I see that they misunderstand my point there, and that is it. I'm not saying that because you are not to. But I said if you don't understand some part of the culture, because it also ties to the story.
We
But the
understand
point
that,
I'm trying to
Olayinka, and what I was
Making that
telling you in
point
my
is
pushback
because
is that you're
it
wrong.
ties to the story. It ties to
No,
the
it
story.
doesn't. I was telling you
It
you're
ties to
it
the
wrong.
does, but
story.
that's
What
what
I
we're
People
saying.
don't
We're
understand
saying it's
Basharun. Wait, some people don't understand Basharun's character because they do not understand that
what part.
history of Basharun.
Alayinka, I'm going to ask you again. Alayinka, wait, I'm going to ask you again about the specific thing because I've asked you before, right? I'm going to ask you what part of not being Yoruba do you think has, what do you think somebody has not understood because they are Yoruba?
Basharun, for
And
example,
that,
I've said that Basharun's character, for example, some people would not. I mean, the king in the Yoruba land, for example, is not an absolute. I mean, as against what people thought. As even in the Oyo Empire too, the Yalodi was very. In fact, if you look at Efusheto and Nimura, she was so powerful. She was defying the king in some ways, and all of that. And the king just left her. You know, the Bashorun guard too was very powerful. In fact, they also had powerful people. The king was not absolute.
I have a feeling I'm going to ask this
So,
one more time. What was the thing that people misunderstood?
and I'm saying it
Because
again. That Bashorun's character, people misunderstand it.
Guys, I think I understand.
So people are saying that they cannot tie why Basharu was doing things and the king looked weak. And I'm explaining why. The people who felt that Basharu was weak, I mean the king was weak, that was allowing Basharu, and I'm explaining why it is like that.
Why does that need cultural context? There are all cultures that have kings and kingdoms where people undermine the king. Why does that need specific Yoruba or your cultural context?
Yeah, so because but you have made that. I mean, because people have made that a point. That is why I'm explaining that now.
But
People have said why is Basharu just doing anything anyhow and all of that. And I'm trying to make that a point that Basharu is usually very powerful then.
I
No, but
understand
we
that.
all acknowledge that he's
Like we all
powerful.
understand that. Why does it need specific Yoruba context?
Yeah,
Guys.
because
all kingdoms have their seconds in commands, their third in commands, other people with power who are even in the royal kingdom who just have wealth and have a lot of power, who can challenge the king and challenge rulers. All kingdoms have that. There is no single kingdom story you will go throughout any culture where you will not find some story of descent amongst the king's
so why are
whatever
people
when they
making it? Why are
overthrow
people
him.
making it? But
What is
people,
that
the fact that
related
people are making
to
it.
Yoruba
Excuse me,
culture?
I'm the one that is this thing. So maybe when I'm through, you can make your point or something. So I don't
You're
understand
doing
why people.
pushback and you're pushing back against my pushback. So I'm responding.
Yeah.
What is the motivation
So
for this
but
battle?
I'm pushing back not just against your own pushback. I'm pushing back against a lot of people's pushback about Pastor
But the people
I
that
and
are
all of
pushing
that.
back
specifically
did not say
said
what
that
you
your
said.
point
okay, all right, really,
Let me
back.
finish. Let me finish. You're taking a lot of time. You are derailing. I mean, you are going to make
go
me
on,
forget
Alayinka,
a
go
lot of
on,
things
go
that
on.
I want to say and all of that. So now, so I, the reason I'm saying that I said that, so was not to make people feel. It's just that I mean, the culture ties to the story too in a lot of ways. So, for example, the issue of I just mentioned, I just explained the sin now and all of that, and then the issue of the Ede people and all of that, how they were then and all of that. So then and someone also talked about, again, I'm mixing everything together because of the historical context. Someone talked about Wahala, use of Wahala and all of that. So now, then, if you looked at the film, they talked about Mali. Mali was where the Muslims, I mean, Islam came into the Yoruba land. You could see Arolake mentioning Mali, that the gold that he had was from Mali. So what it meant was that Islam was already there and all of that. So in fact, some Yoruba words, they even used the particular Yoruba word in the movie then, which was Ela and all of that. So Ela too is from Arabic. An Arabic derivative. That's the movie when she was saying she was in her menses and all of that. So the Yorubas had early contact with the Arabs and all of that. So that time they already had contact, and it was even shown where they were saying Elesia Joji, meaning that they said it a lot too. That's meaning a strange religion and all of that. So it means that they already had contact with the Muslims then and all of that. So they mentioned that quite a lot of times and all of that. The people are coming with strange religion, and that was why you could see them from people in Turban, from Ede and all of that. So because they already had that, so they already had that contact with them. So that needs to be placed well. So that's that. Again, it is art. So, and if some people, it's something that some people will understand it, some people understand certain things, some people would not, and some people will like certain things, and some people will not like it. It's normal. There is no this thing about it. So if you do not like something and another person says, I like it, it is art. That's why it is art. So for example, the Game of Thrones that people hype a lot, I've watched it and I found it slow and I stopped it. That is me. And I don't usually say it. When people say, it's well, for me, it's just there. For me, that's me. And that is because it is art. You are allowed to like and for this is because it is art. That's why it is art. So someone talked about lion too, and that brings me to the lion, depiction of lion and all that. Again, it is art. So you can depict it in whatever. So you could depict a lion that is ugly in your art listing, and then it's because you're doing and all of that. So that is it. It is a drawing. It is an impression of whoever was doing it then, and all of that. You saw such kind of art. Right. So even the castings that they did then, if you go to
right. Okay, I get the gist. I think the gist is that it's art, right? And, and everybody can enjoy. Yeah, I don't disagree with any of that. So, you can like it as much as you want. All right.
Yeah. So I enjoyed it. I had my issues with it, but I enjoyed it. It was
that's great. No.
For me, and then some of the stories too, they have loose ends and all that needed to be tied. Yes, no doubt about that. But some of the things,
but that's hard.
So
that's hard for you. No, I hear you, like no, I hear you. And again, like yes, everybody's free to like exactly what they want. All right. That's art. All right. Shall we do our summaries? Is there really anything anybody else wants to do to push back? Vanessa is just wrapping up. If not, Vanessa, are you there? If you're there, please, can you start your summary, please? Vanessa? All right, Vanessa is not there. Onyekon, do you want to do your summary, please?
Yes, I'm glad that peace reigned in the end. So the thing, I thought it was like the Basharun storyline. I do still believe that it is the most completed.
Onyekon, this doesn't sound like a summary. A summary of Anikulapo, the series.
Would you let me talk?
No,
guys, I'm so sorry. Don't let me snap, please.
15 seconds.
Can you look? Conversations reach a place. Let me finish.
Ayiko, we want to close. Please, just do
I know
your
you want to close. You are not. Okay, let me say my summary. Thank you. I still think that the Bachelor storyline is the most completed and resolved. And because of that, as as the series, I think that if you are patient and you can wait, it is okay for you. It is okay for you. You won't feel completely crazy. But I think this is. I also want to say that like we need to be better understanding of like there's a difference between cultural. We can't just be hiding all our historical stories behind the word cultural because not everything is cultural, but or cultural back then. But with that said, if you like, hello, the dog, sorry, it's a cute dog. If you movies and shows are for like watching, there are millions and millions of shows around the world. There are millions and millions of TV over the 100 years, over 100 years since cameras started rolling. Pick one of them, watch it, give it 30 minutes. If you don't like it, 30 minutes. Change. That's it. You choose whether you like it or not. That's it. You decide for yourself. Bye bye. That's what you wanted to hear, right, Mr. C? You just want to hear me do the preamble. That you cut me off before necessary.
We got there at the end. All right. Okay.
Yeah, that was going all the time.
Attached you.
Yep.
Attached you.
Summary is that I believe this movie is nonsensical. I don't know if this movie wanted to be a sequel or a prequel, but it seemed confused on that aspect, and that is a big part of where this movie starts to fall apart. The characters are quite idiotic, often unreasonable. None of their arcs are properly explained, and I don't know what happened to Saro's 3 children. That'd be 2 or 3 other children that I had, and why he only signed to look after one recent child. The movie just acts like they don't exist. So I don't know whether she had this child before them or after. Anyways, the FX was terrible. The fight scenes were some of the worst in recent time. I think Latif is playing characters I feel like he's walking from one set to the other. The pining lover boy that suddenly finds courage is something that is very familiar. To me, it felt like the director, writer, whatever, like Latif's character in that other movie and Jago and just found a place for him here. Because I don't think Latif or Maury's story add anything. It's not even relevant for how Saro is found. And not just Latif, even at this point, the palm wine tapper daughter, all irrelevant stories. And maybe they find a way to pull it together next season. But I wish them luck, and I wish you guys luck as well who will be continuing. I will not be watching this again. I will not be recommending it either, and I will not be watching next season. That's all. Bye. Oh, and if you need cultural perspective to understand a movie that is put out for the world, you have made a bad movie. Either include the cultural perspective in your movie or go make it for the audience you want. Bye.
All right. Thanks, Tess. Ritimi.
I think I'm going to lean into something about cultural perspective. If you watch it,
sorry, what's going on today? Everybody, please just do your summary.
No, I'm summarizing. See, I was trying to want to push back. Everybody was saying anything. I just wanted to make this the very small point. Just bear with me. I'll try to be as brief as possible. Just bear with me. I'm going back to episode 1 when Kunle's character was with the guy. Just bear with me. I've never asked for this thing before. Just bear with me. Just bear with me. Please, sorry. When Kunle's character is talking to that character near the portal, Kunle is looking from left to right. The person he's speaking to is also looking from left to right. In film terms, it's called crossing the line or breaking the 180 rule. Now, my summary for this other aspect of the cultural stuff, you can be a Yoruba person, you can understand Yoruba culture, but you might not understand storytelling. And if I point out what is the problem with storytelling and the laws and the rules that guide filmmaking, I'm pointing them out. They are the laws and rules and they are universal. The question here is not about culture. The question here is about filmmaking and storytelling. Because we watch things from different people's culture. It's the story that holds us. It's not about the understanding of the culture. There is something in Anikulapo that is worth watching. I just think that it took too long to get there to the story that was probably inside Anikulapo. It didn't need 6 hours, 2 maybe, not 6. As a continuation, if I had to choose between the movie and the series, I'll choose the movie. The series, I love Bashan's character. I think his character motivation and within it was a beautiful addition. But this extended storyline dragged and made everything very difficult to watch. That's all. Shikena, thank you.
All right, thanks for it. All right, not even must change, please. Summary.
Okay, I kind of agreed with Rotimi saying because the storytelling was bad. We are not arguing that the culture is the issue here for the person arguing about culture, but it's the storytelling that's the issue. If you don't understand culture and there's no and there's a story, yes, you'll be able to grab a few things, but the storytelling is bad. That's why people are complaining. So I'm sorry, like I said earlier, this series was not needed, or it could have been done written some other way in a better way. Because I think Kunle should be done with the writers he has been working with since. He should find new writers because I kind of went to look for the writer of this series and check their other works, but I knew, oh, sorry, because nothing satisfied me from what I've seen in their body of work. So I just feel like Netflix should come in, find new writers. Please, there are talents out there, that are better. Come and find them. Don't keep going back to people that are giving us mid projects because they are greedy. This movie, I'm sorry to say this project is done with greediness because you want the money to be to yourself. You want to make more money. You want to get more money from Netflix. You are giving us something you are not supposed to give us. Create a new project. There are other stories out there. Do something new. There's no need to continue Anikulapo. Please, I don't want to see the continuation of what's the name of that is a teen movie. Young adult movie. I don't want to see the continuation, please. Even I'm not going to be watching the season 3 of this series, but I think it is watchable. It's okay. Not like it's bad, you can't watch it at all, but it's okay. So that's what I'm saying.
All right. Okay. Let's not read motives into the filmmakers that are not apparent, please. I don't like the idea of calling them greedy. Like, there's no need. You can just say they didn't do this well. There's no need. It doesn't add anything to the discourse, please. All right. But thanks. Not even must change. Pearl.
Yeah. I feel like when I said my bad, it was almost veering towards a summary, but we're in summary time. So let me just say, first of all, that I'm not sure if it was on Netflix. I saw that this was a spin-off or in any of the promotional stuff. But when you hear spin-off, you have a certain set of expectations. It's not a prequel or sequel or whatever. I mean, whatever. But this did not have like the feeling of a spin-off. It was just pick up the story from wherever we left off, and then not done very well. So that was already uh not what I expected to see. But I was able to, I mean, that would not have been a problem if it had been done well. So let me just say, touch on this argument that has been going on because I got thrown off or thrown out. I had to go out and come back in, and then I didn't even realize that I wasn't even a speaker. So I kept trying to come in. I'm not going to dwell on that because there's been a lot of back and forth on that. All I'm going to say is that it's one of two things as far as culture, because I've said that I say this all the time, not like I made it up, but the language of film is universal. So it's one of two things. It's either something is important to the story, in which case, if it wasn't explained, then the filmmaker failed or they dropped the ball, because like Mr. C, I think you pointed out that this audience is global, and the fact that the movie exists in so many different languages means that the intention of the filmmaker is for it to be globally available and accessible. And so if you create something that some people are able to argue that, oh, it's so esoteric to the honors of that culture, then it means it's a failure. But on the other hand, if that thing is not like germane to the story, then when we bring it up here, we're simply stating it as a fun fact, not like it affects the story in any way. So it cannot be the two things. It cannot be critical to the story, but also inaccessible to 90% of the audience. It cannot be. So that's all I have to say on that. And then I echo something that somebody said here. I don't know who, but said that Latif, it looks like he's moving from set to set. When I saw him here, I was like, this is literally his character in the grill, that dumb face character that he puts on so well. Like, I've not seen anyone that has that idiot face as well as this actor. He does it so well. And I hope that it doesn't become like a stamp on him because he's an incredible actor, except for when he's being typecast in roles like this. I really hated him in this. I did not root for this character because the character had no motivation. He was walking around from place to place playing Ayo. Why should I care about that love story? So I didn't care whether somebody else came and took his babe. I liked when somebody likened Kunle Afolayan to Tyler Perry. That's how I'm getting that sense over time with every project that comes out. It's less, it leaves so much to be desired that it just feels to me like he's not trying anymore, that he is almost like he has all his set pieces in array. He has his camera, he has his crew, he has access to these things, and it's like we're not even trying anymore, we're just going to churn out content. A lot of his movies, they don't feel like art to me very much. They don't feel like people who love film and storytelling. It just feels like content to me a lot of the time. It leaves me feeling very dissatisfied, and this was just one in a long list of similar. So I don't know if this works as a summary, but I just feel disappointed. I'm not sure what my expectations were, to be honest with you, but the fact that I preferred the movie tells me, and not that I even loved the movie to begin, but the fact that I preferred that tells me that I agree with the people who say that this series did not need to happen. Thank you.
All right, it's got to be the least summary section we've ever summaried. Mrs. C, a summary.
All right. In summary, this was a bad outing, especially from someone with this much experience. It was unfocused and badly paced, and that showed. And it felt like 6 hours of torture. And I wouldn't have finished it if I didn't have to watch it from Film Club. I'm gonna agree with Pearl. It seems like we have fallen into a Tyler Perry-esque type situation with Kunle, and we're running on past glory. I do want to see better, but I'm not holding out a lot of hope.
Okay. All right. All right. So yeah, I did not like this series. Not by any stretch of the. I didn't like a lot about it, to be honest. There's no. I think there's one scene. There's half a scene I thought was all right, and it was that thing with the perverted cheese, the bum thing. I enjoyed that. I thought that was fun. I think that's the only scene I have, because that's not the complete scene. I think that's the only thing I liked. There's too many flashbacks in this. There's too many, even the things that he's good at, the production design. Some of the tents, honestly, like somebody's supposed to be going inside, but you can sort of see through the tent, and it's just a wall. There's not a lot going behind in some of the shots. So I don't know. There is very little for me to like in here, and it didn't help that it was so long and so poorly paced. So yeah, I did not enjoy. I did not enjoy this at all. But it's always fun having the conversation to see where other people stand. And remember, guys, it is at. All right. Okay. Next week on Nollywood Film Club.
Wait, what are predictions? Who won?
I killed it, obviously. And it's not even close.
You did not win shit.
Oh my god! I'm actually embarrassed for everyone who competed, because like I rattled them off. Go listen to it, and you'll be like you're actually watching the film, because that's how good I was on this. But obviously, Vanessa wins for conspiracy theory prediction. don't worry, I will not be partaking in further predictions because, like, yeah.
We need a panel of judges to see. You need to
Way
start
too good.
doing the winner for predictions.
Right.
Don't let this man rig
So,
anymore.
I will sleep with the judge. All right. Anyway, the next week, hopefully, I don't know whether I think we might need a break from Nollywood. I don't know whether we are going to get it. I meant film wise. We might do a conversation. We need to check up some What Kept Me Up articles, but I'll let you know later down the week. But thanks everyone who has listened with us. We appreciate you. It's one of the long ones, but have a listen to go to the podcast if you want to catch up. I would recommend listening to the original Anikulapo, and it's a trip down memory lane. All right, but thanks for everyone, and we'll see you next week.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to the episode. If you enjoyed listening and would like to join live, just follow us on Twitter at IrokoCritic and join us every Sunday 6 p.m. West African time on our spaces.